Hello, FNAFers! The spring has come, and so did FNAF 4 and sister location, I guess, analysis. And today I'm joined by my fellow FNAF Theoritubers, Cheeda,
Extra cheesy Cheeda.
Cosmic Star,
Hello, I don't have an intro.
that should be your intro. Draz,
Hello, I also have no intro.
and Glitch Society.
Hey guys.
The best
That
intro.
was better than mine. What the heck?
And
Happy spring.
we don't really have a ready pinboard, so because I didn't really have time to set it up, but we're just gonna finish discussing the pinboard we had last time, and if we will have time, discuss some other FNAF sister location stuff that don't really connect to anything really anyway. So yeah, first of all, I mean, does anybody want to say anything before we start?
I apologize for how annoying I will be throughout the duration of this stream.
I
okay,
want to
you got a lot of-
self-insert. Y'all should definitely, everyone who sees this in replay probably, go check out my Frights Fiction video. It's really cool. I'm always right. You should definitely watch it.
Yeah, everyone go check him out.
You're always right, only in your dreams. Okay, anyways, let's actually, so before we actually start discussing theories, let's actually first hear how we sound on the stream, because last time we were glitching out.
Yeah, and we don't have Flipside to help us this time.
Yep. It sounds good, yeah, I think. Maybe I'm a bit quiet, but maybe not. But whatever.
Just talk really loud so that it sounds like it'll make you sound right.
Well, I'm always right.
I forgot about that.
Anyways, so what did we talk about last time? So we talked about everything except so we kind of talked about the box, but like the stream actually is kind of cut off for some reason, so we should maybe discuss the box again.
That's right. That's right.
So, but also we need to talk about Crying Child's fate. So Golden Duo, Cosmic Star's favorite, BV5th.
My favorite
so
too. I
much.
love Golden Duo. I
BV5th.
love my
I
pack.
hate it so much.
BV5th.
I love
hate
it.
it.
Mikevictim and Jerry
hate
Victim,
it.
my favorite. So what should we? So what should we talk about first?
Well, where it cut off last time was right after we mentioned the box. We talked about Scott changing what's in the box, and
Yeah.
then it cut off right before we talked about
Yeah.
Fury's Rage
And
in
then
that
we
boss.
can continue from the box. We can continue to the Mikevictim, because some people use that as evidence. So that, like, Charlie in a box. Remember that theory?
We could just start with the identity, because that kind of spills into Charlie, that whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's a great idea.
Plus, that's what most people probably are watching for.
But what about the box? How, like, we're gonna fit the box into this?
I'll just say I think it's plushies.
Oh, yeah, there's, to be honest, not much to talk about. Something is plushies. Something is memories, I guess, in a way.
It could be the puppet.
Actually, you know, it does kind of look like those boxes that, like, puppets are kept in, you know,
Oh yeah.
or shows. So I guess
Based Based on how Scott describes it in the more recent Daco interview, I kind of think it's I think it kind of turned into more of a symbol almost based on how he describes it. Like it used to be something that FNAF was going to be, but since the direction kind of shifted, it was no longer gonna be used for its original purpose. I definitely think it has something to do with the crying child and the crying child's fate, because in FNAF World, in the files, there was a picture of the box where it was fully opened. So I do think maybe considering the direction FNAF kind of went into, it could be that the box kind of is FNAF World, considering FNAF World at one point, and I still do believe FNAF World is canon just because of everything it shows.
Yeah, I definitely
but
do too.
but it definitely it's not nearly as nearly as acknowledged as I feel like it could or should be. For instance, pretty recently, the FNAF World website was taken down. You can no longer get FNAF World on Steam through like the app ID. It's only available on GameJolt, and the recently announced Ultimate Guide 2.0 still doesn't include FNAF World, it seems, but it does include 5 laps at Freddy's, which I think is pretty funny.
That is really funny.
So I do think that in order to kind of figure out what the box is, you kind of have to correlate it to the crying child, to FNAF World, and I feel like when Scott says it was part of something, it was part of a story that is no longer happening, or something that he kind of went away from, I think that kind of has to do with the crying child, and how the crying child has a much smaller presence throughout the series, especially like over the years. Like it's been what, like 9 years, almost 10 years since FNAF 4, and I mean the last time we really saw crying child, if you don't want to if you don't want to say Garrett from the FNAF movie is the crying child, then the last time we saw the last time we saw the crying child after FNAF 4 and, FNAF World, depending on how you look at it, the last time we see crying child is in the interactive novel The Week Before, where you get the Bite of 83 Easter egg. And even with that, depending on how you look at it, that it might not even be crying child who is actively participating without that Easter egg. But to be fair, you still do hear his crying throughout the recording of the Bite of 83.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wouldn't that show, though, he is a consistently relevant character? Because FNAF Specification follows up on the story of 4, which has the motivations, the lingering presence of that story being relevant. In FNAF 6, I would argue that he has a presence in that story based on certain things we might get into in a little while. And in the Steelbolt era, we had an entire DLC that was themed around his debut game. Even had a birthday cake in the game. You had Dreadpair, which I think most do agree is meant to represent him in some way. And in the first release of a mainline interactive book, VIP is a teaser book, but the first one we get has a secret ending with him being the star of it in a sense. Wouldn't that show that he is very relevant?
I mean, it depends on how you see relevance. I see relevance as the amounts a character or a theme actually physically appears inside of something. Like, you can without a doubt say that, oh yeah, this character is here. For instance, William Afton, he's an extremely relevant character throughout the series because, you know of his presence in FNAF 1 throughout the newspapers. You see Purple Guy in FNAF 2 and 3. He's literally the main antagonist of 3. you see him in FNAF 4 in an Easter egg. Sister location, he's mentioned. FNAF 6 and UCN grand finale, basically the death of William Afton. So he is an extremely relevant character. However, the Crying Child, a lot of his relevance has to do with theories, basically. For instance, big theories surrounding Golden Freddy, Golden Duo, Crying Child actually being Cassidy, the Crying Child being the 5th MCI member, just a bunch of stuff like that. But, you could argue that Curse of Dreadbear is about the Crying Child. But at the same time, what does it say? You could argue, oh yeah, Crying Child, or you could argue that Dreadbear represents the Crying Child because the head stuff, I guess. But at the same time, does it really say anything about the Crying Child? All it really shows is the FNAF 4 house, I guess.
Well,
But at the
I know
same
what
time,
it says.
What does it say? To you, at
Well, in
least.
the case of just Dreadbear alone, it's showing again that he is Fredbear, is Dreadbear Fredbear. The correlation is there. He's even coming out of a lake which is painted red by the lighting, pretty much, of the map. You have a Dreadbear playing Fredbear coming out of the lake, and he's being put back together in this weird scientific thing. I think you can very easily correlate that to Bite Victim, and the only reason he'll be playing as a Dreadbear, a Fredbear knockoff, will be because he is Fredbear. That would be the point of doing the whole thing, right? You don't do a whole DLC, which is centered around FNAF 4, and the predominant character mystery of that game is the Bite Victim, and not be trying to show, okay, what's his deal? Who does he become? Because what he becomes does tell you about the character. If he is Fredbear, that implicates the story, oh, this is his role. So, it's showing that is trying to tell us about the Bite Victim. And showing us too, I think it's showing us that he died on Halloween, just based on the whole setting of the game. Which ties to how other characters have a tie to Halloween. Charlie's implied to die on Halloween as well. There's multiple things you can, grasp from that.
I can see what you're saying. At the same time, I never really understood the whole Dreadbear being Fredbear type thing, mainly because if you do actually look at their models, which I can pull up real quick.
They do look different, but
Well, of course
They
they
do
look
look
different
different.
because he's meant to be Frankenstein's monster, but he's called Dreadbear.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, if you look at Dreadbear and Nightmare Freddy, their bodies are a lot more similar than
Yeah.
Look at them side by side. You can kind of tell that Dreadbear is not a recolor, but it uses the same base model as Freddy, which is why I personally don't think Dreadbear is supposed to be Fredbear, because look at all three of these side by side. Dreadbear very much more resembles Nightmare Freddy than Fredbear. Another thing, I still don't really get how Dreadbear correlates to the Bite Victim, essentially because I don't know.
The Hot One
they
stuff
do actually
is
have pretty much similar.
Curse of
withering.
Dreadbear is filled with
the
Afton
chest.
imagery. It's the one where we find the Afton gravestone, the purple glitching gravestone. You also have Grim Foxy, which I think most do see kind of tied to how Michael acts, the way he behaves. So you only have characters from the Afton family being symbolized here, and there's clearly an Afton family focus. So, and arguably the one who's closest connected to a bear is the Bite Victim. And so, who else would be Dreadbear representing? Dreadbear also associated with head injury, someone being put back together, being experimented on, which the only character like that in the Afton family would be the Bite Victim. And I can see how it's definitely a reusable model from Freddy. I just don't think that invalidates the correlation, because Dreadbear the context of it is the more connect to the Blight Victim and the feeling of it being a FNAF 4 theme DLC. And a big theme of FNAF 4 was the fear of Fredbear's diner. And it being called Dread Bear is more closer to Fredbear than Freddy Fazbear.
Okay,
So I
can
think
say
the reuse
something?
the model doesn't really change that, because they clearly they clearly did change big things like the head. They just kind of want to save time, I probably presume.
Okay, so let me just say, so I'm not like so for Dreadbear. So I don't think Dreadbear's appearance is meant to in any way remind of Crying Child. But I do think it's interesting how first of all his name is based on Fredbear, just like Red Bear and etc. And he does have like a brain surgery game, but again that's could be just like a Frankenstein themed game, not really Crying Child related. But one thing I do find kinda interesting about him and Crying Child's connection is the fact that he comes out of a lake, just like similar, and like that kind of reminds of how in UCN and FNAF World, the Freddy-like character drowns in a lake.
Oh,
So
Yeah, he comes out of a red lake to the
so either
lighting
Crying
of the
Child or
DLCs. Yeah.
Cassidy or something like that. But that's just a theory. I'm not sure if I fully believe that theory, but I do find that as an interesting possibility.
I think that would more imply the Blight Victim would be the Red Bear, because, like, you gotta think about the context, right? FNAF 4 is always Halloween themed. It was going to come out on Halloween, it has a spooky feel. You have Halloween masks, it's making a friendly Halloween mask. The DLCs, you have Blight Victim's birthday cake and a Fall Fest themed game. It's clearly tied to the events of FNAF 4. It's trying to tell us FNAF 4 is a fall season event. What was going on there? So, the only real character it would correlate to who would be put back together would be the Blight Victim. And so if he's rising out of a red lake, that would more correlate to him being the character in OMC's minigame, I think, personally.
I do agree with that, mainly because how I see FNAF World is essentially I don't really know how to explain it perfectly because FNAF World is still relatively confusing. But how I see it is Crying Child basically getting his memories back in some sort of way. A lot of it has to do with like Shatter Victim, those kinds of theories. Not exactly, because I feel like my interpretation of what happens to the Crying Child is a little bit different from Shatter Victim, but suffice to say, it's relatively similar. So how I see it is, Crying Child's head gets bitten. His memories kind of split up a little bit and go to the characters that represents his friends, aka the original FNAF 1 characters, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy, the characters that were his plushies, the characters that he thought of as his friends. He basically, like, quote-unquote curses the spirits inside of them. Not actually, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But basically, how I see it is that his memories kind of attach on to the MCI children, keeping them from moving on, similar to how in Fazbear Frights, Jake's happy memories makes Andrew able to move on, kind of forcefully almost. So it's kind of like the reverse of that. Like, if a happy memory can make you move on, especially another person's happy memory can make you move on, then what about another person's bad memories? And that's what we see in FNAF 3 and FNAF World. In FNAF 3, we have a bunch of different minigames that leads to the ending of Happiest Day, and within each of those minigames, we unlock and free a different MCI victim. And something a lot of people don't know, this is something I tested myself, but if you go through each minigame and then go to Happiest Day, you can see that each MCI child is connected to a specific minigame. So by unlocking the child in the Balloon Boy minigame, you get the Freddy spirit, the Chica minigame, you get the Chica spirit, the Fredbear minigame, you get the Foxy spirit, which is really interesting considering the visuals of FNAF 4, which is the Foxy bully at Fredbear's. So that's really interesting to me, and is kind of what especially convinces me that the crying child's memories attached to the MCI victims, it's mainly that one, like the Foxy spirit being correlated to a Fredbear minigame. Like that's something I see no one talk about, and I think it's kind of funny because that feels very purposeful, but I don't know. Anyways,
especially when you compare that, I think it's that minigame where you compare the room where the spirit is in with the room the crying child's locked in on night 4. They look like they're in the same place, so it's like a role reversal with like the Foxy spirit.
I think the idea
I
in
can
Stage
see
1
that
though
too.
is that it was related to the MCI, because like you gotta like think of it from the FNAF Freeze release. Is it talks about the Springlock suits performing at Freddy's, they're doing their own thing, and then one of them gets this MCI happens, things go on, and so Stage 01 would have to be something relevant to the original outline, what was going on in those first 3 games, particularly the third game. So, in a game that's kind of showing us these old tastes of the old characters when the MCI got used, telling us about Springlock suits, wouldn't then like a spring suit character moving off stage and a child disappearing more relate to the idea this is some type of memory, probably of the Golden Freddy kid, of when they were taken, the MCI?
I don't really see that. I get what you mean with the like FNAF 4 not being in mind when FNAF 3 was being made. I do understand that. Although I do think that what Scott did was, instead of planning everything out from the beginning, I think he just took the minigames, took the visuals from the minigames, and kind of referenced them in FNAF 4, kind of called back to them. But I don't really see how that would be like the Golden Freddy's kid memories, especially considering the Foxy kid is the one attached to it. Like, you know, you complete that minigame, give cake to the child in the Stage 01 minigame, go to Happiest Day, and you see, oh, the Foxy kid is unlocked. So I don't really understand that one.
I mean, the idea is that
And
these memories are all all the kids are trapped or within the memories of the Golden Freddy kid. Because you have the Bonnie spirit, the Jeremy one, in that black box thing that I've correlated to like take cake, right? But it's correlated to something. But obviously, say it's take cake, it doesn't mean Jeremy was the one outside, but it means that kid is taking the place of the real person in the memory, right? Say it's take cake, right? Jeremy is representing Charlie in the memory. Fritz will be representing Bite Victim, Cassidy, whoever in the memory. Because if they're bound to the memory, you can have kids sort of representing another in it, is what I would presume it to be. Because all the minigames are set, it exists to build up to the main one, right? The goal at the end is to free the Golden Freddy spirit, right? It's not, if it was equal, right? Always want to free all of them, doesn't really matter. It's like, it wouldn't be a build up, right? There wouldn't be this like, we have to get these guys to free this guy. It's like, it's all connected to him. It's like, it's all this is to free that specific kid.
I just remembered. Sorry, Draz. Don't let me throw off your groove. I can remember it for later. Please go on.
That was generally what I was going to say, is that contextually, I think the idea is that you meant to tie to the Golden Freddy kid, because all of Happiest Day, the reveal is that it was all for Golden Freddy. These 4 kids, it's not like you free Golden Freddy, then you get the last cake to Foxy. It's all to free the one Golden Freddy kid, who the puppet seems to have some type of connection to, just by nature of the presentation of it. So, I feel like the idea is that all those minigames would be tying back to the Golden Freddy kid in some way, or at least it's a concept Scott might have had that would have been expanded in 4.
I agree. I'm really glad we started talking about FNAF 3 Happiest Day again, because I'd really like to ask the new guest, Cosmic, do you think that the happiest day is canon based on what Scott said?
I think it depends, honestly. Um, so FNAF 3 is played out in a very interesting and kind of weird way, where based on its presentation, you basically go night by night, night by night, and at the end of each night, there's a mini game where an animatronic is dismantled. And then you see the Springlock incident, and then you see the bad ending where everything is still lit up. So I think that essentially what's going on is I feel like it's both complicated, but at the same time not the kind of complicated that most people think it is. I feel like it's more so okay. In my opinion, a very weird interpretation that I've heard is that the minigames are actual minigames in universe and not like, cause like I always found that to be weird.
I heard
people
this.
think that these are actual actual physical arcade cabinets.
No.
That these
it
children...
stems from. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're good. You're fine.
I think it might stem from the idea of like Fruity Maze and Midnight Motorist. What if Cheeta's
Yeah.
Adventure, Mengel's Quest?
Can I
That makes sense to me.
I'm pretty sure, like,
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm pretty sure in the new new Into the Pit book, The Return to the Pit, I'm pretty sure there was something about like the Happiest Day arcade being like arcade games or something like that, or I haven't read it, so I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Does
it's
anybody
not
know
the
anything
happiest
about it?
day, but it's a happiest day adjacent minigame.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
was
it was
in, like,
something
arcade
similar where
games?
Oswald is. It was something where like Oswald was kind of. It was weird because Oswald was like physically teleported inside of the game.
Huh.
But at the same time, Into the Pit is like this whole weird thing where like the pit is a weird alternate memory dimension or whatever. So I feel like comparing that to FNAF 3 is a little tricky because there are different things at play. But at the same time, I feel like it does show something, I guess. But mainly what I think FNAF 3's Happiest Day is that instead of whoever we play as, like the Night Guard, instead of him or her or whoever it is being the person to free the spirits and do Happiest Day or whatever, which is an interpretation I've heard a lot, I honestly just think it's Charlie, because in Happiest Day she's the only one who can move around. We see her in one of the hallways. That's how we get jump scared by Phantom Puppet. So like she's the only one who can move around. So I feel, and like based on interpretation, she's the only one who's not tied to the missing children's incident event, or potentially if you want to talk about Shatter Victim, she's the only one who's not tied to Shatter Victim. She's the only one who's like free of all this stuff that's tying the MCI children down, and that's physically shown through her moving around. So I feel like what Happiest Day is Charlie going through each mini game and then rescuing every missing children's incident kid, and then they're all put into Happiest Day, where they free who I believe to be Cassidy, because I think it's only Cassidy who possesses Golden Freddy. I think Crying Child is a completely separate character.
Well,
but
I don't want to like throw you off. I don't want to throw you off, but how come no one really questions if Golden Freddy and Withered Golden Freddy and Fredbear, people assume they're all the same? Can someone explain that a little bit?
Back in the day, I used to believe that they were all well, not all like that. The Withered Golden Freddy and Golden Freddy from FNAF 1 are like different spirits. Like one is Cassidy and the other one is Bite Victim. Like first of all, like Golden Freddy, like you never really see Golden Freddy in FNAF 1 Golden Freddy and with the Golden Freddy at the same time. Like even in FNAF World and UCN, like there's only one type of Golden Freddy at a time. Even though we have Scrap Trap and Spring Trap at the same time. So, like that's first of all, that's one of the interesting points.
Scott,
Second of all,
I got some. Oh, you go, Lidge.
Scott just considers them the same character. Like, Golden Freddy in FNAF 2 isn't called Withered Golden Freddy, he's just called Golden Freddy.
Yeah.
And he typically uses the FNAF 2 model for Withered Golden Freddy more as more of the default design.
You think he's
ever
the same?
since. Yeah, they're
Plus
the
the
same.
fact that the movie Golden Freddy takes design attributes from Withered Golden Freddy, especially the missing ear, which is like kind of like the defining factor of Withered Golden Freddy. So I feel like that's a big one too.
I'm glad you brought up the ear. I was gonna say, how did he regenerate his ear between 1987 and 1993?
Ghost shit.
Okay,
I
I'm
cursed.
not.
Am I
I'm
allowed to
accepting-
curse?
See, now
I'm
that's
only
a great
accepting real
question.
answers. That's always why I've thought there's separate victims for Fredbear, Golden Freddy, and Withered Golden Freddy. You know, DCI and all that.
Don't even get me started on ear victim. Don't even get me started on ear
Hey,
victim.
on this show, we get
Scott
into it.
wanted people to figure it out by changing the ear, being like, they're gonna catch on to this, they're gonna find out, they're gonna pick the ear. But I guess my thoughts is I actually do kind of, because the thing about the puppet being disconnected, I actually do think the puppet is connected to the others, and that in a similar way as you would say the wife victim's connected to the others, where she's more aware, and it goes into how she has influence over the other spirits and why she's the shepherd, why she seems to have control over them, like she seems to in FNAF 2. She's implied to kind of have this like I'm the boss of you type thing in that one cut story, You're the Band. Just being the guardian, keeping everyone in control, wanting to get, I think, the spirit of Gabriel out of that boy. So
Yeah.
I feel like she is connected to him. It's like I feel that's what happens in Give Kids Give Life, right? She's given the gift of life, and a theory I've liked is that she's guiding those souls to take control of the vessels they're already in. But theory I've liked before, I think ID's Fantasy talked about, is that she may have been given a part of her remnant to each of the kids, and by doing that, I don't think she mentioned this, but that would inherently tie her soul to them. And I think that's a really cool idea, and I think it is very possible in retrospect. I think obviously the main idea she just caused possession is still true, but I can see Scott like elaborating upon it, being like, hey, she's also bound to them in a unique way.
I do see what you mean. Also, excuse me, I'm munching on a cereal bar right now. But I do see what you mean. However, I think they can be connected in a different way than the like, okay, I think the missing children's incident kids, I think they're all connected to each other in some kind of way. The way I believe it is they're all connected to the crying child's memories. The memories kind of attached onto them, made them kind of not be able to move on, because those memories kind of became their memories, and memories keep you attached to the mortal realm, or blah blah blah, whatever the heck it is. And then happiest day, each of those memories need to be turned into good ones. The happiest day, yada yada yada. Crying child's memories get put back together. See him go into the red lake, move on. The weird happiest day television screen thing in FNAF World happens. Blah 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 blah. Anyways, I think that sorry for my insane rambling, but
No,
You see, though, I agree
the
with that. I agree a lot.
Yeah, I think the MCI children, they're all connected together because, you know, they're all part of the same incident, but there's also the fact that each one of the animatronics they possess, they all represent a character that the crying child saw as his friends. However, that's not the case for the puppet. And I do think, like, based on what we see throughout the stories and like all of that, I do think the puppet is kind of grouped together with the classic FNAF animatronics, but not in the same way that the MCI children are kind of tied down in a sense, you know?
Well,
Like,
in Hell 1 or 2, the Fast Force is not just the 5. You combine the puppet as a part of the 5.
yeah, I get that. Like, I do think they can still be grouped together, but I don't think... All I'm saying is that I don't think Charlie is... Charlie. I don't think Charlie is being kept from moving on in the same way that the MCI spirits are being kept
I don't
from
think
moving
that.
on.
I think she chooses to linger on. I think she chooses
Yeah.
to. But I feel
In
like
fact,
she has the
Yeah,
choice.
I agree.
I think she has to. I think she's
The
connected
character
to him. I think
encyclopedia kind
she's
of
a
alludes to
character
that.
who has like a choice to linger on, but she chooses not to. And I feel like it's like a sense of duty, and she wants to go after Willie and make sure he suffers and and make sure he doesn't do anything. And Fred and that YouTuber had a really good idea how he may be similar to Jessica, where she's doing all these good things. She's helping people, healing people, giving them life, but she feels like she doesn't deserve the rest. She doesn't deserve to. She could, but she doesn't deserve to rest, and so just helps others and chooses to linger on that way. I think that's a really cool idea. I think does fit her character. But I was saying, I do think the bite victim is tied to all the kids, and the MCI is tied to each other. But the way I would frame it as is, I think making it just symbolically friends kind of misses what FNAF 4 is showing. Is that, think of the movie. How does Abby refer to the classic souls? Her friends. These are my friends. She has drawings of them. They chill in her house. They appear in her dreams. This is very similar to how bite victim talks about the plushies. These are my friends. They appear in his mindscape when he's dying. And even the character at the end, in his mind, not real life, but in his mind, says, we are still your friends, and when the others disappear, it goes through a singular eye. That's indicating there was multiple here, and it's decreasing with each plushie disappearing until it's the last character speaking. So the idea there is that Bite Victim is literally friends with these kids, and when he dies, his soul in some way gets intertwined with them. And the way I would frame it as, if you ever watched MatPat's theory where he debunked Dream Theory, like his own video, like a week after, in that theory, he talks about how the puppet at the end, who I think is the plush bear he fought as well, is playing a pronoun game, where the you at the end is not a singular you, but is referring to all 5. I will put you 5 back together, stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
works.
what culminates in Happiest Day, is the 5 put back together. And I think you can also expand that in a Shadow Victim sense, where it's an early example of the concept of 5 becoming 1, right? It's a very early example of Scott taking the concept of 5 kids become one thing. And it's, I would say, Golden Freddy becoming one with the 5 others. That's the way I would frame it.
I do really like that. I actually haven't thought of 5 becoming 1 representing Happiest Day. That's kind of clever. I haven't actually thought of that. But I do. It's a little hard for me to look at Crying Child being friends with his plushies. It's a little hard for me to look past that being symbolism rather than it being like he's literally friends with the MCI kids, because timeline differences. Crying Child dies in 1985, meanwhile the MCI kids are 1983, meanwhile the MCI kids are 1985.
Well, I believe MCI died in 1983.
Well, I
Maybe.
mean, perhaps, I think the point there would be the game is showing that it's in 83. Because that's the point I would make, is FNAF 4 establishes it already happened. And even the Ultimate Guide, when it talks about the Easter eggs of FNAF 4, just in that book alone, it organizes them in a way. It was like the silhouettes, the man in the suit, the rumors of Fredbear going after, and then like the rumors of the Pigtail Girl. Like, it even puts 3 Easter eggs together that all connect to each other as an MCI type connection. And I would say the whole game, which is like the final chapter to the original FNAF story. The original story of FNAF 1 to 3 is the MCI. What's FNAF 1 story? Mike facing off the 5 MCI kids. secret stories, a killer stuffed them in the suits, and they're trying to kill you the same way. FNAF 2, it's about the MCI kids, how they got possessed, the puppets were connected to them. The 5 other kids that got murdered, right? You're learning about, it's always about those kids. You get a little bit more about the killer as well. He's the purple guy. FNAF 3 was a culmination of that story at the time, where the MCI kids are the center point of the entire secret minigames. Follow Me is all about them being a little purple guy, being dismantled. And the secret story is all about them being freed, and it's how the puppet is orchestrating it, how the puppet cares about the Golden Freddy kid. So that's the storyline, and Scott said he builds upon clarifying the previous game, and the marking of 4 was always that it's the final chapter to that original story. The Steam description even still says that. So that original story would be the MCI narrative. So when you go into FNAF 4, it fundamentally, and I would say personally, confirms it is about the MCI. Because that's the story it's trying to end. And FNAF 4 was the final game, so Scott felt satisfied. Would anyone question that it's an MCI game? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have a theory about Happy's Day, but not about Happy's Day, but it's more about the neighborhood kids and the colorful mask kids, and I'm not sure if I should talk about it right now or later.
If it's the other masked kids, it probably should be later.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything they want to say to all that?
We pretty much discussed the MCI 83 last time, so...
I mean,
Cosmic's new. He wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
yeah. So, okay. So wait. Sorry. Drazim, are you saying that the MCI happens in 1983 or 1985?
83. I think 83 has been blatantly established in the game, so that's my straight opinion.
Okay.
But can I
I
say...
have things to say about that.
Can I say my point? I think that at least Charlie died. At least by FNAF 4, at least Charlie died. I think that at least that is for sure, because of the pigtails girl saying that their animatronic come to life at night and stop bodies. It doesn't really make sense for why Puppet would stop the bodies, because we never really heard her do it. And that's why MCI sounds more fitting. But like I think like at least one murder has happened by FNAF 4. That's my belief.
Spring,
For FNAF 4.
between shows, I actually found a tiny bit of evidence that might point towards the puppet not being the first victim.
What's that?
It's just that in the security puppet minigame, why would there be such a strict security system with codes and wristbands and stuff if there hasn't been an incident yet?
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things that's made me believe that that Puppet wasn't the first back in the day. That
For me, it's
like the.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, there's two ways of taking that.
Like,
It's
actually-
either to protect Charlie after the MCI, or it's just to protect Charlie because Henry cares about Charlotte.
Yeah, like
Henry,
Henry didn't really have much time to spend with her, so spend time with her. So it would make sense that he would create a robot as a caretaker, basically, to take care of Charlie while he is busy or something like that. But yeah, that is an interesting point that I always thought about. That kind of made me think that maybe Charlie wasn't the first. And I used to believe that Charlie wasn't the first at first back in the day, but now I believe Charlie first just because we see her bring to life the kids, and at least by FNAF 4, since we know that from rumors that the animatronics are alive, that at least Charlie probably is dead already by FNAF 4. But yeah, that is an interesting.
I'm glad I could bring it to the table.
I do think it's an interesting point, although I will say to me at least, it seems more likely that Henry just wanted to protect Charlie. After all, we do see a similar thing with, like, I don't want to, like, say parallels or anything, because God forbid that, but we see a similar thing in, like, you know, The Mimic, where Edwin makes the Mimic to play with David, and, you know, it's simply just because, you know, he's busy. And it could be a similar thing with Henry. Henry's too busy to actually do anything with Charlie, to actually protect Charlie, so he makes a robot that's capable of doing that. And at the same time, I do think that Charlie is the one who dies first, because to me it seems like that's the universal constant, because that's what we see in the Silver Eyes. Charlie dies in Fredbear's family diner. She's taken away and murdered, and that's before the MCI. And based on how the second FNAF movie looks, it seems like the FNAF 2 pizzeria has been kind of left to rot, abandoned for years. So it could be possible that Charlie or whoever possesses the puppet died long before the MCI actually happened. And you know, there's, of course, in the Silver Eyes, 1985 is the year that the MCI happens. In Into the Pit, 1985 is the year the MCI happens. And that's kind of the constant for each interpretation of Into the Pit. The game, the original short story, the interactive novel, it's always been 1985. And especially considering the game, or especially considering in general, it seems like Into the Pit is really being hammered in as canon, along with at least, like, you know, whether you want to say it's only Into the Pit that's being hammered in as game canon, or Stitchline, or Frights, at the very least, it seems like 1985 is a very recurring year when, you know, when the MCI is being brought up.
I would disagree.
How come?
I disagree, because the movie has it in 87. The novelization distinctly says, you can technically say evidence against me technically, but the novelization distinctly says that the Freddy's app opened after Garrett died, and the calculation in the novelization puts it in 87. And so that inherently implies the inside takes place between 87 to 89. And in the, I'm trying to find it, but there's also the retcon that you have in the fourth closet of the date of Charlie's birth. That also pushes things up by 2 years. And if it's consistent, it also puts the date of the MCI in 87 in the fourth closet. Now, does it distinctly say it's now in 87? No. But when you retcon the date, and you make distinct statements in past books about it being 10 years after the MCI, this is how old I was at the time, blah, 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 and then it inherently pushes to 87, you now have two examples, actually, in the novels and the movie, where it takes place in the late 80s. So Scott's not consistent with the date, and he's not even careful in his own books to keep it consistent. In fact, in the original... I would have
to disagree with that, especially because, you know, Into the Pit released several times, re-released several, like, what, 4 times?
Well, yeah, of course it's going to have the same date as the other versions of the book. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it seems like because 1985 is repeated 4 separate times, without any retconning, and, you know, that ties back into the Silver Eyes, it seems like your point of it becoming 1987 within the Silver Eyes is kind of debunked based on later stories. And again, like, that whole 1987 thing within the Silver Eyes is, of course, just a theory, and, like, I do respect
if
the theory.
If the year was retconned in the novels, it would have been mentioned.
No, that's not necessarily how it works, because when you establish a timeline where it's 10 years after the MCI, and this is how old Charlie was, and then you say, actually, she was born this year, that inherently changes the timeline, where it's like, okay, you have to adjust things for that. That does mean it happened in 87.
Well, it only really changes time for the character mentioned.
The book doesn't need to say it's now in 87 for that to be the implication. In fact, when the newest piece of media, which Matthew Lillard, who relayed from Scott, said is meant to fill in gaps of the lore, has it also in the late 80s, most likely in 87. So when that happens, if we're going to take the newest piece of media, which has also a similar wording Frights did, that was going to fill in gaps of lore, then that should also be a testament confirmation of 87 MCI, which is a theory, but it's not. 85 only exists like 87 in dubious timelines and debated continuities, while in the games, the date's never actually mentioned. 85's never even hinted at in any single game, which could have been easily done. Instead,
Stepped into the pit.
which is the Dubious Can retelling of Into the Pit, the story. But in the new games, the Steelwool games, which have a focus on the past, every time you have the dead kids get referenced or symbolized, it's always an association with 83. 85 is never mentioned. There's no 85 code in Help 1 or 2, but instead what you get is, you have the puppet being one tied in the private room, which mind you, the private room in this location was based on the past. Basically, William built these rooms inspired based on past things. And big ones, the BV5th, BV5th experiences. But the inside is also a part of that. The nightmares are based on the 5 classics, the Fredbear and Friends idea, the 5 MCI. In fact, it's meant to mimic Mike's shift at FNAF 1, which was him versus the MCI. And the only year that's associated with FNAF 4 and the entire Nightmare Chambers is 83. And that gets re-referenced in Help 1 or 2, where the puppet is tied to the 83 code, and she is placed last among the other children. And it can't be a release order, because release order doesn't make sense. There's no release order. Freddy can be done at any time. And you can't be confirming Freddy's things, like, it's a circular assumption. And I don't think it can be the little death order, because Trial, I think, is pretty implied to die first. So what would be in trying to connect those, placing the puppet after the other 5, and being the only character associated with the year, is grouping the other 5 characters with the puppet in the year 83. And the puppet would make sense to be last, because she's the face of the MCI, she gave them life, and she's the shepherd. So placing her last among them, and associating them all that year, makes sense. You would think, though, that if 85 was a relevant date for the game's timeline, like the actual mainline games, it would be referenced. Except it only exists in dubiously debated things. In the game, I would say, goes out of its way into the pit. The game, I think, goes out of its way to make sure it doesn't have connections to the games. I think Unwhere the Truth had a great video on that. Like, they cut things from the game that would connect it to the game timeline.
I feel like it
Yeah, well,
kind
they
of
still
does the
left some
opposite,
things.
especially with like, you know, they show the endo schematics, that is specifically the FNAF 1 animatronics. I do feel like, you know, I used to not believe it at first because I thought it was a little bit silly, but I do think a lot of the changes are just for gameplay reasons, like the structure of the building, stuff like that. I used to not believe that at first because I thought it was kind of silly sounding, but then like you know, the other interpretations came out, and turns out the building in those were kind of similar to the FNAF 1 building, and I believe it's Return to the Pit that even states that Jeff's Pizza used to be a much bigger building, but it was essentially like cut in half almost. So like that sounds like the FNAF 1 location was turned into Jeff's Pizza, and another store through being like a wall being built in between inside, which is a very common thing, like for large buildings that happen in a funny enough, that happened to a pizza place that I used to work at, but I'm still kind of confused about the whole like MCI 1983 thing, because although I do think it's possible to tie the puppet into the MCI being like, you know, their, in your words, being their shepherd, at the same time you still have, you know, FNAF 2 showing that the puppet gets possessed before the MCI children, and then your point on the MCI happening in 1987, that, if anything, that makes it even further than 1983. Like, so that doesn't really make sense to me either, because like,
Well, it shows the dates
based
are
on-
consistent. Like, if Scott's willing to change it on the timeline, or even retcon things that would also by de facto change, I put the thing for that in the chat. But if he's willing to do that, contradict the date in the timeline, and will make a new timeline that has a completely different date, even more farther out, that would mean it's not a consistent constant, right? For example, if the movie has by victim Garrett died first, say Charlie's there, that doesn't necessarily mean doesn't mean by victim has to die first in the games, but it does show Scott's not making a constant across timelines. Things change. Now, of course, I think
can
Charlie
understand
will
that
die
for the
first, but
movies. I can understand that for the movies because like there's already a ton of things that's changed for the movies, but at the same time, it does make an effort to make it that the MCI happens later on than like at least, you know, based on how we have things now, we don't have a lot of information on the next movie, but based on what we have now, it does seem like the MCI has happens a little later on than anything else. At least, you know,
the movie's not
compared to
explicit. Yeah,
when
the
Garrett
movie's
dies.
not explicit when it happens. The novel is like the one that says like it happened. Garrett dies in '87, and it happens after Garrett, which would mean it has to happen the year of '87 or to sometime between that to '89.
Or I mean, I don't think it does give specific years. I think the only specific year we get is the year 2000 with like the camera monitor in the movie. But at the same time, I could fully expect them to kind of just like brush aside the timeline and just make it like, oh yeah, the MCI did happen in 1985, this happened in 1983. I can expect either way, like them to do that, them not to do that, them to just stay away from timeline stuff because that's messy enough as it is. But at the same time, I feel like looking into different continuities is good and a little wonky depending on how you look at it, because like, you know, you want to put a year, you want to say that a year in a different continuity where a ton of things are already changed is evidence for the games having a specific year. I don't know, it just feels a little off to me, I guess, especially because like we have multiple instances of the MCI happening in 1985 with the novels, and you know, you could say that like due to the Charlie age retcon thing, because Scott's bad at math, that it pushes it to 1987. But at the same time, if your argument is that the MCI actually happens in 1983, meanwhile every instance of the MCI is showing either 1985 or at the latest early 90s, late 80s, I don't really see how it could be 1983. And that kind of ties back into like what you were saying about the MCI actually being Crying Child's friends and how that relates to how Abby talks about the spirits in the movie. That also kind of lends me even more to believe that the plushies just represent the animatronics, almost like it's the characters themselves, the animatronic characters themselves, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Fredbear, that Crying Child believes are his friends. And that's because Abby doesn't refer to the animatronics themselves as her friends. She refers to the spirits as her friends. She even says like, oh yeah, the robots are haunted. How else could they move? Meanwhile, the Crying Child, you know, he directly says that these plushies, these non-possessed plushies, excluding Fredbear because I don't know what the hell is happening with him, these non-possessed plushies are my friends. When he imagines them when he's dying, he thinks of the plushies, not any children, not any spirits. So it definitely seems like he sees the characters
are those kids
themselves.
in the movie possessing though? Like, who are they possessing in the movie? They're possessing the classics. So, I mean, like, I get where you're coming from, but it feels like that doesn't really contradict it, because the characters they're possessing are the classics, and Abby is distinctly friendly. She treats the classic characters as if they are the spirits. She sees them effectively as if she looks at Freddy, as far as it matters to her, she's seeing the kid, because that's her friend. And they appear in her dreams.
But that's what I'm saying.
But so I think
what I'm
that's
saying,
the
though.
same thing
He,
here.
he
He is
sees
seeing
the character,
plushies represent the spirits. They're representing those
but
spirits.
that's the
there.
thing. We're never shown that. That's mainly what I'm trying to say. Like in the movie, we're shown that Abby is friends with the spirits themselves. Meanwhile, if you want to say that the MCI children are the friends of the crying child, we're never once shown that. And you could definitely make the argument that crying child's friends are only the characters and he sees them as his friends.
I
And
would
the
say
reason why the
96
MCI
as well.
is tied to crying child is because, the classic characters represent the MCI kids. And to me at least, I like to see all of this stuff as a like I like to see all of this stuff as like a story, because that's what it is. But at the same, like, I don't if you know what I mean. A lot of people tend to see this series as like a big puzzle. I like looking at it like a story. So, but what I mean by that is, like, if it's trying to show us something, like, crying child being friends with the MCI victims, I feel like it would have shown us that.
I would say that is shown in the
directly.
96 minigame, because the idea there is that FNAF 4 is the idea of the mind from the child, perspective of the kid. And in his mindscape, he is hearing the voices speak to him, or the voice, and it's being depicted as the plush bear and the plushies. And they speak in a plural. Similar how Nightmare Fredbear, I think, in UCN, has multiple voices speaking. And I think it's like, we know who our friends are, you're not one of them. Like, I think it's a direct callback to what's going on there. It's one plushie representing multiple voices. One character representing multiple voices, and it's saying, we are still your friends. And as the plushies go away, when all the last ones fading away, it goes to I'm still here. Which I think is meant to be the reveal. Is that there's multiple people talking here because there's a distinct change in the way the pronouns are being used by the character. And I would say, I think I'm pretty confident the plushies are meant to represent a spirit in the cutscene. Because in, you know how the crying puppet in FNAF 3 matches the bite victim, not only the puppet's design, but also like the tear tracks, the pose, the angle?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I think that connects the puppet to that cutscene and places her as the plush bear, right? Because it inherently connects the puppet to that memory, right? The memory of Night 6, the memory of the death. And something that was really cool, and I sent this, I think it was on Wizard Truth I sent it to, but it was basically, you take that image of the puppet crying, and just place it over the plush bear in the scene. What does it look like then? Two characters kneeling to each other, crying. And one character is the one dying, the other one's promising to put them back together as they die. So when you think of it that way, right, if the puppet's the one tied to that memory, say she's the plush bear, it's showing that she was crying in the scene, right? It's kind of showing what she actually looked like, what her real, in a sense, appearance was. She was crying because she failed and Bite Victim was dying. And I think you can correlate that logic to the other kids, that the plushies are representing them in his mind.
I have to wholeheartedly agree. And Cosmic, if the missing children, if the plushies aren't, if the crying child's plushies aren't who the missing children became, or the characters aren't who they became, how would you explain the FNAF 4 Night 6 cutscene?
I mean, I would just explain it as crying child remembering what he saw, the plushies that he saw as his friends as he dies. And I do see what you mean with, like, okay, real quick. Do you think that the Fredbear plush is Charlie, like possessed by Charlie?
I think it's possessed by Charlie, and William does not speak once in that entire game.
Okay, can I say my opinion?
Okay.
Also, I think so. I personally like to think that, well, I personally think that we only hear William talk through the plush, but in the ending, we are not hearing the plush bear talk, but someone else off screen. But Crying Child just imagines his plushes and Glitch Bear as he dies, and as they fade away, it's kind of representing him kind of losing his memories, like we see repeated in the franchise, where like that kids don't really remember, like, and so like the fading plushes represent him forgetting, him losing his memories, and Glitch Bear being his most prized toy, being the last, like his best friend, basically. He forgets him last, and that's why he fades away. And also, him being his best friend is why he imagines him when someone says like, "We are still your friends. Do you still believe that I'm still here?" So that's my
I
personal
kind of
statement.
agree there.
And
Hmm.
I
see what you're
don't think Crying Child has stuck to MCI and Puppet in FNAF 4. I don't believe.
I just don't think
So.
William
At
has
least I
anything
don't
to do
think
with it.
so.
I think, okay, a lot of things to say. So, first off, Fredbear plush. I don't think William is talking through it at all, and mainly because
I like you
whenever
now.
you like the
I agree
main
too.
the main thing about the Fredbear plush is that William is talking through a walkie-talkie, yada yada yada. The Fredbear plush is a weird mono-ring system. How I can see that for a point. However, the problem lies in when the crying child goes inside Fredbear's family diner. The Fredbear plush can still talk to him, however, the plush never actually appears inside the diner. So based on that logic, Fredbear is somehow talking to crying child. Maybe it's through like some weird brain chip or something. I have no idea.
Wait, this is what we were saying.
I always
Something is what we were
imagined
saying.
that-
Something is what we were saying is that the plush shop kid even says, "Where's your plush toy?" That's a deliberate
Exactly.
piece of dialogue. Is that the kid is saying, "Who's your plush toy?" It's meant to make you think. Wait, doesn't he have a plush bear character that's talking
Oh
to
my
him?
gosh, you're
How's
right.
that have one? And
Why-
also, in the game, you can in the Easter egg, Plushbear can speak to you when you go to the shadows. You go right to the left. William's right there doing his job, and you can also go all the way back to Fredbear, and Plushbear can speak to you while William's still on the screen.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
just like basically Scott not expecting people to actually have both at the same time, even though it's quite possible.
I mean, at the same time, you kind of okay. If I was a game developer and I programmed something like that in, it's regardless of whether I expect people to have those two instances happening at once. The instance of William being on screen still signifies that he's in the diner while the Fredbear plush is talking, and not anywhere near the underground facility where he's supposedly monitoring the crying child. Like, regardless
Yeah.
of whether
Yeah.
you have those two instances happening at once, the game still shows that William is in the diner actively working and not monitoring the crying child, not talking to him. Meanwhile, the Fredbear plush is talking to him, something like that. Also, disclaimer,
That's what we were saying.
I don't
That's what we were saying there. Actually, real quick.
real
is-
quick. Disclaimer, I don't support merch being used as evidence. However, the
I love you.
Sanchi Fredbear plushes have been called possessed Fredbear for years and no change, and I feel like we all know by now how little Scott likes revealing lore in merchandise. Like, he's said it multiple times that he doesn't like doing it, and to me it seems like he doesn't like doing it unless it's something he thinks is obvious. For instance,
Or established, yeah.
yeah, or established. For instance, he literally, like, for some reason Mexes was like a big point of discussion, like who Mexes is he Glitchtrap when Ruin first released, and during the interview and for the U2's merch, he just directly calls the Blue Rabbit Mexes, even though a lot of people for some reason were debating it. So to me, it feels like he's okay with revealing these things if he thinks it's obvious. And I don't know about you, but a teleporting bear plush that can only speak to you through your mind, I feel like that might be possessed. I feel
Yeah,
like that might be possession.
Also, Scott said like years ago that he actually does care about merch names and descriptions. I have a comment about that. It was like an inaccurate thing someone posted on Reddit. He was like, "Oh, I care about this
It
type of
was
stuff."
the
I
Nightmare Chica Bite of 87 thing.
I don't think it was that, but maybe it was. But he does care about that stuff. And that's what you were saying earlier is I feel like Scott did know because the only way to get that like cutscene is to go to the side, have Plesio give you the dialogue, and then go right back to where you came. So Scott made to where the deliberate way to get the William Easter egg is to go hear the Plesio dialogue and then go back. So if he was like, okay, this guy talking here is gonna be the same character of this Easter egg, he would have known how that would make it really impossible because the whole method of getting it is to have the character speak to you and then go back.
Yeah. And back to like the whole merch stuff. Like the Possessed Fredbear plush was originally released in like 2016, had the label of Possessed Fredbear plush, and then more recently, literally last year, new versions were released of it, and there was a pin that's labeled Possessed Fredbear, and then there's the Possessed Fredbear we actually see in Sister Location with the whole like walkie-talkie thing, and it's still labeled Possessed Fredbear. So I think that's rather interesting, and again, I still don't think like merch should be used for like lore confirmation or anything. I just think it's really interesting how consistent that's been throughout the years. But real quick, back to like the whole 1983-1985 discussion, I do think it is possible that the Fredbear plush was possessed by Charlie at one point, but at the same time, I feel like you could argue that it's only Charlie that appears in that cutscene. So the way I look at it, if I wanted to say that the Fredbear plush was possessed by Charlie, the way I see it is that Charlie dies first, shenanigans happen to where the Fredbear plush is possessed by Charlie, because you know that's really all I can say about the Fredbear plush because we know very little about it. But you know, stuff happens to where the Fredbear plush is possessed by Charlie. The bite of 83 happens. Charlie's actively possessing the Fredbear plush. Meanwhile, no other plushies are possessed. And then, you know, they're kind of acting as the Fredbear plush, knowing that the crying child sees these plushies as his friends. And then, you know, kind of just says, like, we are still your friends. Do you still believe that? Because, you know, all the plushies are there. And then years later, when the MCI kids are killed and then put into the suits in what I believe to be 1985 is when the MCI happens, it could be that Charlie kind of put the kids inside those suits based on maybe the crying child's memories, or the memories kind of influenced Charlie in a way. That's kind of how I see the whole Shatter Victim stuff anyways, like crying child's memories influencing other characters. Maybe not purposefully, but like some kind of influence. So like if the Fredbear plush is possessed by Charlie, then I think it works completely fine for the MCI to still happen in 1985. Because Charlie would be dying earlier anyway.
Don't you think Charlie would choose the puppet plush and not the Golden Freddy plush? I'm always skeptical when someone says that.
Well, that's the thing. We don't see a puppet plush.
It's because the reason.
How did she come to haunt the plush?
Because she chose to.
Or she died at Fredbear's and her soul.
Why?
I mean, I just don't see why. I just don't really get the thing like she can't do it. Like we see how, for one, from the very beginning,
she did.
I don't really
FNAF
see
4.
a reason
FNAF 4
why
implies she did. That's kind of like the whole theory is that she chose to possess plush to protect the crying child. It could be because you just want to protect them because you're friends.
That's if it's Charlie.
Or if the evidence suggests it's Charlie, then that implies she chose to possess it. Like,
again, what suggests that?
Like even then, I'm still very skeptical on the whole Charlie possessing the plush thing. I do think it's possible, but like, there's not a lot going for it. I honestly think
that's
it's
all I'm asking for.
that
I'm asking
Fredbear
for
plush
something
was just,
tangible
like,
that suggests it.
Well, the plush bear just
what
behavior
I
matches
think
the puppet
is-
behavior is well, for one we can look in the Light 6 cutscene is that in that cutscene it's implied that the character is giving life to the bite victim in some way as something, right? Obviously, Golden Freddy, I'm sure Cos may have some theory about what he becomes or when he's a wandering spirit. The character does something with them, right? They put their soul somewhere, which is what the puppet's job was in those original games. No other character had anything to do with causing possessions or putting souls in places. That was the puppet's deliberate job. And the plush bear has unique connections, the way they behave, the way the eyes move, the way, even in, what was it? In FNAF 2, the puppet was connected with My Grandfather's Clock theme song. That was their theme, the music box. And FNAF 4, there's a distinct, consistent uses of Grandfather's Clock imagery and sounds, where in the trailer, it was the sound you hear chiming throughout the entire time. In the gameplay, you hear it chiming throughout the gameplay. In the mini games, the plush bear deliberately sits upon the grandfather's clock, looking down at you, as if it's their grandfather's clock. But just things like that. I would also connect it to some things involving what the sister was at the time, but I can ignore that. Just focusing, I can look at new evidence as well. For example, the Help Wanted 2 puppet plush, melee plush, is literally put into the private room area, which the main things in that room are the nightmare chambers and the plush bear in the room. I think that does connect the plush puppet to the plush bear, the only other plush that was in that room historically. There's various things like that I do think connects the puppet to them, and also how the plush bear bite victim has puppet connections. His design parallels the puppet. He does the puppet pose.
There's also
a lot.
There's
more
also the
puppet
pizzeria simulator teaser image of a plush Freddy with strings attached to it, and then there's yeah, and then there's things like Lefty, which is a bear having the puppet inside of it, and then there's things like Nightmare being interchangeable with Nightmarion. So there are like representations like that.
Mention that the first teaser for Nightmarion was the teaser of the on the bed with the plush Freddy.
Yeah, that too. I'm still kind of skeptical about the theory. I do think it's equally possible that the Fredbear plush is just weird agony thingy, because the crying child like cries into it. But at the same time, I feel like Charlie being the plushie does have quite a bit going for it, especially like the whole Lefty representation type stuff. But
that's cool. I've never heard that before.
I would just consistently ask is like, again, this is the final story of the narrative of 1 to 3, and the main link of mysteries was the MCI narrative and the puppet and Golden Freddy. So, like, just take out MCI 83, which is strip away a big plot point and make it for some reason irrelevant to the game. Or okay, what the puppet, right? The puppet always has imagery in the game. You have the bite victim's design, you have the crying puppet. The imagery of the puppet is always being correlated to FNAF 4. So, what's the real point of the puppet being relevant to the game? What's being answered here if they're just like some other kid this kid might have a vague connection to, maybe dies after if you're bite victim first? Like, that's the thing to me. It's like, I just don't personally get all that much. It's like, what's the, like, we look at things a lot in the context of now, but we should look at the context of then. What was it like then? What is the context then? What was Scott be trying to answer? What is realistic? And what's more realistic in 2015 before the Silvereyes even released? That the plush bear who's protective, who seems to do something with the soul of this kid, who has connections to her grandfather's clock, who has the puppet has connections to the death scene. What character is more likely to be that? An agony, which was only first implied in the Silvereyes, or a spirit possessed in the plush, just like every other possessed type thing before. I just don't really see why it would be like agony or some weird symbolic thing where it's like that wasn't what the series was about by that point. It would be such a weird departure, in my opinion.
I can see what you mean.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love the idea of the puppet being the Golden Freddy plush. There's so many. I can put a million eggs in that basket. but just why would Scott not make it a puppet plush?
Oh, that's why I forgot to answer. Yeah, so the reason that, I think we talked about this briefly on other streams, is that the bite victim parallels the puppet, while the plush bear, I think, foreshadows what bite victim becomes. As in, bite victim is tied to Fred about the whole game, and this character, who is the puppet, is kind of foreshadowing what he becomes. It's a role reversal. Flip side um, kind of explained it better than I did originally in one of the voice calls, is that it's them taking the role of each other. It's a role reversal. The bite victim represents the puppet, who is his friend, who gives him life later, and plush bear represents what the bite victim then later becomes. Obviously, if you're Mikevictim, or if you don't believe bite victim has anything to do with Golden Freddy, that makes it very often weird, but that I think is consistent in the games, that the Golden Freddy and Puppet Child are consistently kind of paired with each other, reversed in some way.
I do
They have
see
role
that.
reversals.
Yeah.
And even if you want to go like 14 Theory, right? The Puppet and Golden Freddy are next to each other in the roster.
I do see what you mean. Me being the resident crying child, being Golden Freddy hater, I don't
Who
fully agree,
decided
but
to
I can
join?
see what you're saying. Who's that?
It's Libra.
Shadow.
It's spelled
Shadow.
cringe. That didn't sound well. That didn't sound good. Never mind. Take that back.
But yeah, I can see what you're saying with the with like the type of character parallel things. Honestly, I don't really know why Charlie would be possessing the Fredbear plush. It could just be like, you know, it's Crying Child's favorite toy. It's something he trusts, something he cries into his, or just like maybe some off-screen stuff happened. Again, there's not a lot you can say about the Fredbear plush, but at the same time, I don't really think it has that big of a lore significance on like why specifically the Fredbear plush and why not a puppet plush.
Oh, really?
I mean, like, I don't know. It could just be because they wanted. It could be just because Scott wanted to represent the MCI actively. But I don't know. It's Fredbear plush.
I'll
It's
say protect
kind of
the bite
confusing.
victim. I would say protect the bite victim, because something I brought up in previous streams is that throughout the various books, you have characters that are similar to Plush Bear, right? Theodore came out in 2015 with Silver Eyes. It was made by Henry to comfort the child Charlie. Charlie, bought in the fourth closet, ends up later possessing the plush, right? It was implied somewhat in the original novel. The graphic novel script explicitly reveals it, that Charlie, or Polybot, was the one who sent the message through Theodore somehow remotely from the box. So that's the first example of a plush made by the father, possessed by a child, which then protects another, helps and guides others, right? And then in the Fright series, you have the real Jake, which Simon and Maggie create the Simon doll, who represent the real Jake, and was to comfort and monitor Jake. Jake ends up dying and ends up possessing that that Simon doll, ends up being the spirit who carries Andrew in his arms. He goes across the books, freeing the souls in the ball pit at the end. So like even the puppet in the narrative frees all the trapped souls inside the agony when she defeats Afton. And you have Tagalong Freddy, where it's not a spirit possessing I think at that point, but it's heavily implied as supernatural, and that the kid goes missing. He bought the Tagalong Freddy to comfort and watch Tyler. Tyler goes missing, and the story frames it as if the plush is evil the whole time. But the reveal is, no, he's not. He was actually telling the father, Robert, where the kid was, and was trying to get him to go there. And once he actually went there and he rescued the kid, the plushie mysteriously vanished. So across the books, plushies that are created by or given by fathers are typically always good guy, possessed by spirits in some way, supernatural, and are trying to help and guide and protect others. And I
Can I
think
say
Jake is like the most
something?
explicit one.
I just wanted to say that about like Cheeda says like continues to say about like why a puppet would possess a Fredbear plush, and I just want to say that well, last time I talked about how I believe that Cassidy is Glitch Bear and the Ice from FNAF 4. And considering that the Ice and Glitch Bear like seem to be similar to Fredbear, if not Fredbear plush, I mean, it would kind of make more sense for Plush Bear to be Cassidy, if of course Cassidy has already died by FNAF. And like Fredbear Plush does does act similar to Golden Freddy with teleporting and white dots in the eyes. So like even like with Puppet like she doesn't really teleport. She always more of flies, while Golden Freddy is the one that always teleports. So
Yeah, design-wise,
like
the plush looks exactly like Golden Freddy. You're exactly right. FNAF 1 Yellow Bear.
Well, it looks like Golden Freddy because it's Fredbear, and it acts like Golden Freddy in a way. So like, it's and actually, the only thing that could maybe like conflict with this is how Cassidy.
Hey, Puggo's Pizzeria's in the chat.
Wait, really? No,
Yep.
no way.
Yeah.
Yo, that's actually okay. I did not expect to see him here.
Hey, you came at a great time.
That's very cool. On my channel's anniversary.
Yeah, that's why he's here.
Anyways, as I was saying, the only thing that could conflict with Cassidy being Fredbear plush, except for, well, when she dies, is how in the logbook she seems to ask Crying Child if Fredbear plush still talks to him. Though, of course, it could be like if like a parent would say, does your plush still talk to you, when they were the one talking as the plush to their kid. But this could be one of the things that conflicts with Cassidy being the plush bear.
No, I agree.
But I think it's
play
just
devil's
interesting.
advocate with you.
What?
Play devil's advocate with what you're saying is the questions in the logbook are very rhetorical. Like the one asking the question already kind of knows the answer. So when they ask, do you know, does he still talk to you? That can easily be rhetorical, right? That speaker could be the plush bear.
Yeah.
And that they're rhetorically asking the character that, does he still talk to you? Because the memories are broken, right? They might have a different association. They're kind of speaking from that perspective. But you can also say that the spirit in the logbook also talks to Michael. Because they asked, do you have dreams? There were some questions that was undeniably, I'll just direct it at Michael. And the page that page is on is about a kid with an imaginary friend. And the plush bear's on the page and he's looking at you, the reader, evilly. As if like they're talking to you with the question. So you can also read that as saying, the spirit in the logbook is the plush bear, and he's asking Mike, does a he still talk to you? Which could also then be read as, does he, the bite victim, talk to you? That's one way I've read it.
I kind of just see it as like, saying Charlie plush. I kind of just see it as confirmation that the Fredbear plush was something that just isn't Cassidy. Maybe, I don't know.
Nothing is Cassidy.
My brain turned off for a moment.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Like with what Draz was saying, a lot of things really parallel with the books and with a lot of stuff. But it reminds me of like when a song sounds similar to another song. You know, there's things that are the same about it, but it's a completely different thing. So to correlate like Jake and Jake and everything, we there are little things we could probably get from that, but to call him bite victim or something is gonna be reductive.
Paul, wait,
Yeah,
Jake the
like
bite
it's one of
victim?
those things that
Wait, did I say that?
it's one of those
No,
things.
no, sorry.
No, it's just kind of generalizing it, I guess. But I have heard people say that like Jake is the bite victim. I'm pretty sure on my Golden Duo video, which all the viewers at home, you should definitely go check out my channel, Cosmic Star, and watch the hour-long Golden video. Please.
Leave a hateful comment.
Anyways,
Be very mean
Speaking
to
of
him. Be
Golden
very,
Duo, why
very
don't we
mean.
talk
No.
about it?
Leave a like, it's amazing.
don't do that, I'll cry. I'll cry, please.
Be very
no,
hurtful.
I'll cry.
Even if you love the video, just be mean. Be mean. Like the video, but be very mean in the comments.
Okay, but anyways, seriously, somebody in the comment section, they were saying, oh, I could see Crying Child's name being Jake, and I'm like, I know what you are.
It's Evan.
But no,
Everybody knows that.
I've seen people say like, oh yeah, the Frights books are just only parallels and nothing else. But to me, the Frights books, like they do have thematic parallels within their stories, but at the same time, it's those thematic parallels that also make them extremely different. For instance, I'm pretty sure, like, correct me if I'm wrong, if any of you guys remember it, but I'm pretty sure within the real Jake knows that it's his father talking to him through the plush. Jake knows that it's his dad who's overseas and just wants to talk to him through this plush toy, and like he doesn't know what's inside of the cabinet, but he just knows it's his father talking to him.
What?
Does he? I don't remember that.
No.
I don't think so.
It never said
Like
that.
I might be wrong. But I think it's like alluded to somewhere. But I might be wrong. But either way, there are some like there are some major differences. Like you know, the plush isn't supernatural at all. It doesn't like teleport around anywhere. Jake is a kid with brain cancer. His dad obviously cares about him, unlike William. Like the entire story itself, there's no supernatural or evil undertones. Like nothing. Like there's no
Actually, is
nothing
at the end.
sinister going on.
It was at the end.
Okay,
actually.
yeah, but like yeah, until the end. Nothing sinister happens until the end when, you know, Jake possesses the plushie and then
But no,
becomes
before
the
that, there's a scene.
Like what?
The night before he dies.
Yeah, there's
Maggie
whispering.
starts hearing whispers coming from the room, and when she tries to listen in, she feels like they're speaking to Jake, but when she tries to listen in, they stop, and she's like, "I'm not gonna bother him." He dies that morning. And the one thing in the Fights books, there's two things that do those type of whispers. I think it's system where Agony can do it. The other one is that I think an epilogue later, like the next book or the 2 books later, the puppet is in Larson's back, and the way she speaks to Larson is through whispers, like distinctly very similar whispers, right? So what seems to be implication is that either the puppet or Agony was in some way speaking to Jake, and I think it's the puppet because I think an idea is so you have characters that are thematically similar to another. And one of Jake's biggest qualities is that he's loving, he's caring, he literally carries Andrew in his arms. And a big plot point is that he understands happiest days. Like his whole thing is he kind of shows what a happiest day is. And he frees all these souls trapped in the ball pit. And there's only 2 characters really in Fights that free souls. It's when Charlie destroyed the Agony, which freed all the souls trapped there, and when Jake frees all the souls in the ball pit. So I think that's a strong correlation to probably argue that Charlie could have been the one speaking to Jake in the whispers.
I'm a little skeptical about that. I just interpreted it as like Jake dies that night and he's just the one whispering, like his spirit's the one whispering or something like that.
He comes to haunt
mainly
the
because yeah, like that's just when it's happening. Because in the morning, it's not that he dies that morning, it's that she finds his body that morning, and then she sees that the cabinet is open and the plush is gone.
Yeah, he's already dead. I mean, like it was at night, right? It's pretty much in the morning. He died.
Yeah.
She's
So
speaking to
seems
Jake,
like-
and by the time he wakes up, she's dead. He's dead.
So it seems like that Jake died. The whispering was him as he's possessing the plush. Morning comes. The lady, I forget her name, finds Jake. He's dead. And then she turns around to see that, uh-oh, the cabinet's open and the thingy is gone. As for the puppet, the mask has been in the police precinct that Larson is from since the fire happened. So, and it seems like it can't really move around on its own that much because, you know, Larson has to take the puppet mask with him to Afton. Like, it doesn't just move around on its own. So I feel like that's a little looking
it actually
into
can,
things a little
because
too
what the
much.
puppet does in the epilogues is that she flies out of the bag and sort of manifests a new body for herself. And when she attaches to the agony, she's able to create tentacles that tear it apart. So, like, there is a weird thing where she's
like
there's a weird thing where she's like
all the time.
there is a weird thing where she's like, oh, I want you to bring me to him. It could also just be like, I want you to bring me to him so I can then surprise him instead of just flying out like a Goku battle. Could be that. But I think it does show the puppet has insane powers, and she was like, she would have been weak after the fire too.
Yeah, but like at the same time, it does happen. Like, she's there for years essentially. Like like several years. I know in The Man in Room 1280, it's revealed that like it's been a few years since the fire has happened, and throughout the epilogues, they call the fire like something that happened years and years ago.
Ancient. Larson calls it ancient.
Yeah, they call it ancient. So it happened a while ago by that time. So I feel like if the puppet could just go out and kill Afton, or just go out and do whatever the hell it wants, it would have probably went out to kill Afton by then. And at the same time, I feel like the puppet doesn't really have anything to do with Jake in general. Like, I mean, the only reason the puppet saves the MCI kids, or like does anything with them, is because, you know, they're possessed. She's possessed. They're in the exact same building. Meanwhile, like, how would that work? The puppet just stumbles upon Jake or something.
I think it's possible that she simply found him, because I think the idea is a passing of the torch. You have characters which are thematically kind of like taking on a mantle, which is why when Charlie dies, right, in the book, the next story arc is Jake freeing all the remaining souls, right? And I definitely can see, you know, the puppet, who is the puppet master, sort of wanting him to finish the job because she can't. That's how I always saw it, is that she wants him to finish the job because she can't do it. I don't think necessarily that the mask has to like fly over there. I think Charlie's spirit could simply just be speaking. I think that even Fright shows when she's weak, she has immense abilities. Like, she's more powerful than Afton, which is kind of crazy. As to why she doesn't kill Afton, probably because she doesn't know where he is. Like, Afton got taken to a hospital, and she would have been like in the fires. Not like she would have like a GPS tracker to find Afton. That would be funny though. she actually puts the GPS tracker.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like if she managed to find Jake, she would have found Afton. I don't know. I just feel like it's a little more. I feel like it's just not really that deep, but you know, the interpretations.
Anyway, I think the point I ultimately made was that Jake is very much a Charlie character, by his personality, by the way he acts, and what he does in the books. Right? When he has a relation to Charlie, like literally, like directly, that I don't think hurts it that much when it's yes or no, or supports it that much if it's yes or no, but more so that he kind of tells us about Charlie's character. Like, he's a reflection of her.
I guess so. I don't know. I have trouble looking at individual characters as just like mirrors or parallels of other characters. Like, again, I think it's what makes them similar is also the thing that makes them different. Like, you know, you can say that Simon represents the Fredbear plush, and then there's William talking through the Fredbear plush and all that, but at the same time, they're all very different with their stories and their execution, and like they're so different that you kind of have to look back. You kind of have to stand back and be like, okay, so if this is what's supposed to be happening with these other characters, why doesn't it happen to them? You know? Like, it almost takes the concept of, oh yeah, what if the Fredbear plush was a walkie-talkie and William was talking to the crying child through that, and yada yada yada. It almost takes that concept and then puts it on a different thing, showing us that this isn't what's happening to the crying child and William and all of that, but this is what it would look like if that is what was happening. But since we don't see it with those characters, it's just not what's happening. It's kind of like
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, but there is something else I do have to go to. I told about Spring Rat in the chat. It's like starting now, but it was
it's
actually
okay.
really fun to talk to you, Cosmic.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I hope I wasn't that annoying. I know, like, it was like me and you yapping the most.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
no,
you were
you're fine.
amazing.
Alright, you guys have
You're
a
great.
great stream.
Yeah, hey,
Goodbye.
thanks, man.
I will be getting back to you about the 1985-1983 thing, but it was fun. I won't forget though.
Yeah, you can't
It's
slip
been
away
fun.
that easy.
I will find you.
Okay,
Immediately leaves.
about what you said, so does that fit into the Golden Duo, where like the Stitch Wraith isn't Golden Duo, but like it is what if Golden Duo was a thing?
Yeah. So I did talk about this a lot in my video, but essentially the conclusion I came down to for Golden Duo was if it was something that was happening within the series, we would have either seen it by now, or if we are going to see it, it's going to be very different from whatever anyone thinks. But I feel like by now it'll probably be a little tricky to do it. But especially because like within the Stitch Wraith, literally halfway through the Stitch Wraith story, Andrew just snaps out of existence and is only mentioned like once. So I think that's kind of funny. But so like, you know, it's very difficult to call the Stitch Wraith an actual parallel to Golden Freddy, and mainly because the type of animatronic that the Stitch Wraith is, and looking back
William's
at previous
also in there.
themes.
So wouldn't
What
that
was
imply Golden
Oh yeah,
Trio?
William's also in there. Yeah. Oh god, don't get me on Golden Trio. Don't get me started on Golden Mech. Don't get me started on Golden Mech. I will go insane. Golden Mech, every single limb of Golden Freddy, every single segmented joint of Golden Freddy is possessed by a different character.
Is that real?
No, I made it up, but I expect it to be real. I expect it to be I wouldn't be surprised if people think of theories like that.
I think people was
I wouldn't
connected to
even be
FNAF
surprised
ER
at
where Golden Freddy like he like glitches into like different pieces, you know? Yeah, Golden Freddy battle.
I could just imagine a kid being stuffed into Golden Freddy's arm. And again, don't get me started on ear theory. Don't get me started on ear theory. Oh my goodness. Nate Feist possessing the ear. Don't get me started on it.
So about Golden Duo, so like so the thing is, I think I wrote it in the comments under your video, but I think the main reason it's like really people believe it is just because it's the only way they like so like the only reason people believe it really is because they are trying to connect the fact that crying child birthday looks like Happiest Day, and Happiest Day is has the golden child receive his birthday basically, and etc. And also connect that there is a fifth victim who is Golden Freddy. and like people just try to connect them, and that was the only way they could come up with how it could be related. And now we have the shadow victim to replace it, basically. That was, I think, the reason people really believed Golden Duo. And like, and another reason I think people believed it is because it just creates a pretty interesting narrative with Mike going around Pizzeria trying to find his brother, who is Golden Freddy, and Golden Freddy saying, "It's me," as in, "It's me, your brother." But obviously, at least as far as we know, Scott did not plan Crying Child back in FNAF 1, 2, and 3. So it doesn't really work because of that. Like the theory is interesting, but there's just not much to support it. Like the thing that drives it, I think, is just the bias of just preferring it. Like, I prefer Golden Duo. I don't really believe it, really, but I just prefer it. I prefer to believe it, but I don't actually think it's that likely.
I think a lot of it also has to do with not really theory bias, but at the same time, I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't think a majority of the fandom has actually played the games. Like, if there was like a poll for FNAF fans saying like, have you played the games, yes or no, I think like 90% would say no.
Actually,
I definitely think a majority of FNAF fans have only watched game theory or like other theory videos, mainly game theory, and I could say a lot about that, but no, I won't get into that. Not now, at least.
Let's be honest. Probably, like, I would say like probably 99% of the fandom is basically kids. Like when I make my videos, I don't really expect them to be watched by FNAF fans who are like adults or teens. I expect it to be just the same type of kids like I was when I used to watch FNAF Theories back in 2015, about 8 years old, etc. And like,
sorry.
I don't really expect those kids to be able to play those games. So now I think it is more likely for them to play FNAF games because they are now on all consoles, but back in the day, they weren't on consoles, so back in the day, even less people played FNAF than now, I would say.
Yeah. I kind of look at it through a similar way. When I make my videos, I tend to look at it through a storytelling perspective. Like, a lot of theorists will tend to look at FNAF like a puzzle piece. Like, every single piece is there from the beginning, everything can make sense so long as you can put it together. I saw this a lot when Ruin was first released. Like, people were shitting on Ruin's ending because it seemed like it expected you to know everything about the Mimic, and I was just sitting there like, guys, it's a teaser for the next game. The next game is gonna be about the Mimic, and then surely enough, that's exactly what happened. But because the FNAF fandom tends to look at every single game like essentially the conclusion of the series, they think that the story can just be solved at any point, at any moment. Like, oh, I solved the entire story of FNAF. When it's still an ongoing narrative, there's still things to be introduced to. And so when I do my videos, I look at it from a storytelling perspective. Like, if Golden Duo was what's going on, how would that look? Have we seen it? And from a storytelling perspective, we definitely haven't seen it, and that's why I don't believe in it. And I made an example towards the end of the video for like FNAF 4 and Dittophobia. Dittophobia is a story that essentially recontextualizes FNAF 4 as a fear experiment chamber. And I remember in like 2017, 2018, it was an old theory, but essentially the theory was that the Funtime animatronics were the nightmares, and that FNAF 4 was like a weird test facility. And I remember hating that theory But when Dittophobia came out and it kind of took that theory and twisted it to something that worked, that's literally one of my most favorite stories. So like, I'm not biased or anything, or at least I like to think that I'm not biased when it comes to like stories or something that I don't enjoy. I just think that if something were to happen, we would either see it or it would be something that no one has really thought of. And so like, you know, all of the things with Golden Freddy being constantly shown to be possessed by a single spirit, like in FNAF 2, FNAF 3, Pizzeria Simulator, Help Wanted 2, like it's consistently been one single spirit. Even in Fazbear Frights, supposedly, according to a lot of people, the thing with a character that parallels Golden Duo, within the new kid, we get to see Golden Freddy the only time Golden Freddy ever actually appears in that entire series, and it's still possessed by one kid. And to me, that's just saying
inside that doesn't really look like the kid because of the different color hair. But
yeah, I mean, like, either way, regardless of that kid's identity, it's still just one kid. And I feel like a lot of that just kind of hammers it in, like, oh yeah, Golden Duo isn't really what's happening, at least not in the way people think it's happening. And I also make this point within the video, like, if you wanted to do Golden Duo, you could do a story where the Crying Child and the Golden Freddy Spirit are both present within the same media, and the FNAF movie does do that. You know, whether or not you want to believe that, like, Garrett is the Crying Child, it's still the younger brother of Mike Schmidt. And, you know, a lot of people will say, for evidence of Golden Duo, that Mike is at the Freddy's Pizzeria to look for his younger brother. And that is something we see within the FNAF movie. We see Mike Schmidt going to the pizzeria to look for his younger brother. However, although that's the perfect setup to do Golden Duo, it doesn't happen. And Golden Freddy is still possessed by this separate kid from a separate incident. And Crying Child is not directly said to not possess anyone within the movie, but Vanessa does say, or Mike does question Vanessa within the novel iteration of the movie. He says, is Garrett in one of those things? And Vanessa directly says, no, he was before Freddy's. So unless something drastically changes within the second movie, Golden Duo doesn't even happen in the perfect opportunity to do it. And
I just wanted to come back to what I said at the start of the stream, I believe, with how I just remember a fight. Well, so as I said, like, a good opportunity for a Golden Duo it would be like if there would be, like, for example, separating Golden Freddy and Wither Golden Freddy. For example, Golden Freddy is Cassidy and Wither Golden Freddy is Crying Child. But again, Scott never does that. Even like in FNAF World, where he had a perfect, like, he wanted to include like the Wither Golden Freddy head, it wasn't in the it wasn't in the end product. Like, Golden Freddy head, Wither Golden Freddy head was removed, and instead we only have FNAF 1 Golden Freddy, and then in UCN we only have one of the Golden Freddys.
I get that.
You can't see them at...
They never appear at the same time.
Sorry, I was gonna make a FNAF World joke. Two Fredbears can't occupy the same space at the same time.
There we go. There we go. Someone did it. But even though Golden Freddy FNAF 1 has no top teeth and Withered Golden Freddy does, are you like implying that they're like modified? Golden Freddy is a modified version of Withered Golden Freddy?
Well, some people theorize that maybe like he was physically like modified, just like the theory that Withers were modified to FNAF 1 classic electronics.
Yeah, that holds some water.
And like we can tamper with Golden Freddy in FNAF 2, so that doesn't sound so far-fetched. But also, it could be simply that Golden Freddy can just change his appearance because he's a ghost or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that maybe the Wizards could be modified into the FNAF 1 gang, but I think anybody, I'm sorry if this insults anybody, but anybody saying that Golden Freddy, Yellow Bear, Withered Golden Freddy, and Fredbear are all basically the same, they're basically like using that as an excuse not to think about things. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. It's getting a little blurry as the years go on. Mainly because there is of course the Easter egg of Fredbear in UCN, Death Coin on Withered Golden Freddy, and you get Fredbear who looks like FNAF 1 Golden Freddy.
That's
and then there's the more recent Fredbear's posters from Steelwool, where you have, like, albeit it is a very stylistically cartoony Fredbear, it does have the black hat and black bow tie, representing more towards Withered Golden Freddy and Classic Golden Freddy. And I could see it as being something, some kind of tie between a physical suit and a non-physical suit. Some weird thing where, like, let's say the Golden Freddy spirit is actively possessing the suit. It turns into this weird paranormal thing due to the spirit's quote-unquote powers, let's say. And then while it's not actively possessing it, it turns into a normal suit almost. So we could say that while it is a normal suit, it was changed, it was modified, and that's how we get FNAF 1 Golden Freddy. Or it's just something like, oh yeah, Golden Freddy can change appearance. Or if we want to go the more meta route, we could just say, oh yeah, Scott wanted to redesign Golden Freddy a little bit, which is, something we see in the FNAF movie where Golden Freddy has attributes of both FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 Golden Freddy, which seems like...
That did send me into, like, a small fit, I'm not gonna lie.
One interesting thing about Golden Freddy from the movie is how he has only one eye glowing, and some people can argue that, well, that's because he, like, Crying Child isn't possessing it, and that's why he has only one eye glowing or something like that.
That's an excellent detail.
I think that's a little silly, because then you have to explain that with Toy Chica, the puppet, Toy Freddy, every other character that happens with Classic Freddy, Classic Bonnie. Like, you don't want to say he only has one eye because he's possessed by one person. Then you have to explain that for several other characters.
Yeah.
It's funny how Scott's been depicting Golden Freddy with only one glowing eye ever since Golden Duo became a theory.
Yeah, that's hilarious, I think. I wanted to mention that in my video, but I was like, it's mainly for merch stuff. Do I go there?
He actually is messing with us, isn't he?
Just a little bit, and I think it's funny. Like, there's been a more recent, I don't think the render itself is recent, but it's like a more edited render of Withered Golden Freddy, and he has one glowing eye. There's the FNAF movie one. I think that's mainly it, but, like, still, the most recent depictions of Golden Freddy, and I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I can agree with your first explanation of them being, like, modified, but, why on earth would Yellow Bear FNAF 1 Golden Freddy have his top teeth removed just like all of the rest of the FNAF 1 gang? If he's just a ghost, he's been modified. They don't have top teeth because of the bite of 87. Whoops, sorry.
I don't know. I think it's just design stuff, honestly. Like, I know a lot of people might want, like, a more lore-filled answer, but I honestly just think it's design reasons.
I need something better than that for Golden Freddy, though. Golden Freddy is huge, and
I know, but, like, I can't see it being anything else. Like, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. I'll stand by that. Is that Withered Golden Freddy and Yellow Bear look far too different to be the same character, and that goes to Fredbear too. All three are separate victims, in my opinion.
Fredbear,
Yeah, but
from
you also
UCM
have.
or Fredbear from FNAF 4. I knew.
Yeah, that is
I
a
feel
good
like
point.
UCN and FNAF 4 Fredbear would need to be the same.
I've had the theory myself about Golden Freddy that they, due to their like projecting themselves as a ghost and such, that they changed their appearance to reflect that of the Freddy of their current of the game.
I heard that
Okay.
either from you or
I think that could work,
That is a little bit.
but
that is a little
I
bit
do
weird.
think that I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correctly that the Golden Freddy suit is in FNAF 1 from the week before. And obviously he's also in FNAF 2, so it is just entirely possible Fazbear just modified him. Don't ask me why.
And he grew back his ear.
Don't get me started on ear victim.
I won't. I just how did Yellow Bear get his ear back after it's missing
They
in
just
FNAF 2?
they just repaired him.
Okay.
Like I said,
Yeah,
I don't know
again.
why. I
mean,
don't
like-
know why, because they weren't going to use him, but yeah.
I
mean,
definitely accept the modified theory there.
if you like bring those questions of like how did they repair Golden Freddy, I mean, like, you already get the answer with like the rest of the classic gang. Like how did Withered Golden Freddy, or not Withered Golden Freddy, how did Withered Freddy turn into Classic Freddy? Because they repaired him. How did Withered Bonnie turn into Classic Bonnie? Because they repaired him. How did Withered Chica turn into Classic Chica? Because they repaired him.
The problem with that is that Classic Chica, Withered Chica, and FNAF 1 Chica look completely different. One pops open its head and stuff. They aren't
mean,
like
it is still,
modified
because
like,
for
of how
retrofitting.
different they are. I don't like. It's hard for me to believe that they are the same animatronics. Like,
I feel like the week before says that they are. That they just is under
Yeah.
retrofit theory for FNAF 2.
I really want to see what
Yeah,
FNAF
I mean, like-
2 movie does with them, because even in FNAF 2 movie they look very different. So like, what will it be? That they are like this old withered animatronics that aren't the FNAF 1 animatronics from the FNAF 1 movie, or that they are like destroyed versions of the FNAF 1 animatronics after all the destruction happened in the end at the end of the FNAF 1.
So I wanted to say that so retrofitting is like, from how I understand it, I think the retrofit theory is like both very plausible and essentially confirmed just because of how Phone Guy talks in FNAF 2. And I occasionally get obsessed with Chuck E. Cheese from time to time. So I don't know a lot about how retrofitting actually works, but from how I understand it, it's essentially you take the technology that you're using, you essentially strip everything off of it and then put something new on top of it. So, and that's basically how it works in FNAF 2, and at least that's how it sounds. So essentially what happens is that, let's say you have the classic animatronics. They look like the FNAF 1 animatronics. Fazbear Entertainment kind of stripped them down, wanted to put the newer technology inside, which is what's used for the toy animatronics. They ended up looking really ugly, and the smell, to quote Phone Guy. So they scrapped them with the newer technology inside, put more technology inside of the toy animatronics, and then, that's how the Withered animatronics happens. They were scrapped, they were left to rot, and then Fazbear Entertainment takes the Withered animatronics and then puts them back into their classic appearances, which is what the week before seems to suggest.
Are you really the last person to find out about?
That's very
But,
interesting.
But like,
I definitely recommend.
Very different. Like the
Yeah,
withers
but like that's
are
just how
under oath
retrofitting
too.
works.
Like usually they just put like a new suit on, like in retrofitting. Like usually you just put a new suit on an old endo, basically. Maybe replace
Or it's an
couple-
old suit on a new endo.
Well, or well, I mean, yeah, yeah.
It's
Why
a
would
bit
you do that,
complicated.
really?
I would recommend actually looking into how retrofitting works to understand it.
Yeah.
But like that's really it. Like if you want to understand the theory more, just look at how actual retrofitting works. Oh yeah, I was literally about to mention concept unification. I was literally about to mention like yeah, look up concept unification to see how retrofitting works.
That's the first thing I thought when you mentioned.
But yeah.
And
But, like they just
sorry.
strip them down to bare endos and just replace the suits.
And the FNAF 2 ending newspaper really implies that this is what happens because it notes that the classics will be taken in hopes of a reopening, which everyone thinks is FNAF 1. But
Yeah, and
what if that's not what
Glitch
that's
put
referring
a
to?
quote from, and Glitch put a quote from the week before. The brown bear is dapper as always in his black top hat and bow tie. Glad they restored the vintage animatronic with his classic look. Freddy doesn't wander much, blah blah blah. And like to me that does say that like FNAF 1 Freddy is how pre-withered Freddy looked. I feel like that makes the most sense, especially since that seems to be what the second FNAF
Plus,
movie is doing
with
too.
Into the Pit, regardless of if that's meant to be game line or not, it is the original MCI location, and the characters are in their classic look designs as well.
Yeah, for the most part at least. There is a lot of like there's a lot of stylistic choices in Into the Pit, but for the most part they are definitely supposed to be the classic designs, especially when you look at the old schematics.
Yeah, but I guess we just need to wait and see if FNAF 2 movie confirms it. And like, I'm sure that it will confirm that it is either right or wrong. Sure that it will confirm, because like, I think it's impossible to not confirm it because like of how, well, we have FNAF 1 animatronics from FNAF 1 movie, and like, and we have Withers in the FNAF 2 movie. So like, if Withers will be involved in the movie, which is much more detailed than just a game, and like like I feel like it's like destined to happen that it will be confirmed that they are possessed by MCI, and if they are possessed by MCI, then that will confirm that it's the same animatronics.
He's right. We really all we need to do is wait and see what the FNAF 2 movie says. But do any of you really believe that this 3-sentence explanation also covers for Chica and her head and everything else that is functionally like completely different?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think really that it explains anybody, because like to
Me
me,
neither.
like Withers and classics are way too different. Like
I wholeheartedly agree, 100%.
like we can just
Well,
ignore it and believe
To be fair,
it, but
the FNAF 2 phone calls do also imply that they were just their designs were changed because they were retrofitting them with newer technology until they decided,
As
yeah,
I
no, we're not going to go with these guys because they're ugly.
And
As
they
I said-
smell, yeah.
as I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
it is all implied, but like visually it doesn't look like that. Just visually alone, really.
Like, unless the classics are going to show up in the FNAF 2 movie as well, they'd have to be possessed by the MCI.
Yeah, if the FNAF 1 characters show up, that's really going to be interesting to see. That's exactly what Spring was saying. All we need to do is wait for the FNAF 2 movie, and all this will be cleared up.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, we say this, and it never happens, but...
Imagine Withers
What
just
if-
being
imagine-
and cutscene.
I'm hoping
Imagine
the
Withered
movie.
Golden Freddy looks exactly the same.
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Golden Freddy
I'm
looks
looking
the
forward
same.
to seeing what they do with the toys in the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, since we talked about Golden Duo, is there anything else anybody wants to mention about Golden Duo before we move on to Mikevictim, maybe?
Just that I've never believed Golden Duo, but I'm glad
Really?
it really does take a 50-minute video to explain why it's wrong. So I'm glad you did that.
In my opinion,
It could have been longer. It could have been so much
It
longer.
absolutely
Let me tell
could
you.
have. Yeah, that's the short.
in my
version.
Could have
opinion,
and should have been much longer.
I do think it's somewhat implied, but I don't think it's how it's not the fandom interpretation of Golden Duo. I think it's more in line with like Shadow Victim, where it's similar with Andrew in Frights, where he haunts Fetch, but he's also shattered across other items.
Yeah.
I think in that sense it's
And,
similar like that, where he is in there to some degree, but he's just not fully possessing it.
That's
Fair
kind of the interpretation I went to. It was more like Crying Child's memories, mainly because of what we see in the week before, how like the phone call is in there.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's more representing how Crying Child's memories are creating this kind of audio, not hallucination, but like I guess just like audio, a memory that's able to be heard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, I definitely think that's what's happening.
Like
in
he's
there.
connected with the building.
Yeah, and I think that's also kind of what we see in the FNAF movie, especially the deleted scene where Garrett's spirit was gonna be seen running away right before William Afton comes on screen. I think that's still in the novelization though. I could be wrong though. Oh, okay. And there's also other things like in FNAF 1 we see the parts and service. It gets completely haunted. Everything in there is haunted. You know, the walls change from pictures of crying children to It's Me being everywhere. So like based on that kind of stuff, it seems like the FNAF 1 building in general is completely haunted, and the whole Bite of 87 audio being in the week before, it definitely lends itself to that as well. I did have a theory for a little while that the FNAF 1 location was either a separate location, and I don't know, essentially what it was like the MCI location was Fredbear's at one point. It got completely broken because of Return to the Pit, explaining how this place definitely is the FNAF 1 pizzeria. But I had that for a little while. Like I thought, oh, maybe Crying Child's spirit is like wandering around. But from how I interpret Crying Child, it's like, you know, his memories are being attached to the MCI kids, and it's influencing them and the world around them. Meanwhile, the Crying Child himself is a wandering spirit. I have a joke. I have a little inside joke where the Crying Child is actually possessing the logbook. And that's why we see him like able to change the text inside. Meanwhile, Cassidy is physically writing in it.
That's not far-fetched. That makes sense.
Yeah. Whenever I make the joke, I just put little googly eyes on the logbook. I can probably find an image of it real quick while I'm talking.
Like it's gonna fly off the shelf and start flying towards me.
Yeah, and it has little googly eyes on it.
That's awesome.
It's that kind of like it has little googly eyes on it, and like it's the whole like, oh, I can't see anything, and it's because I'm a book.
You know, about the
here's the
location.
image.
About
Here's
the
the image. I'll put it in chat right now.
About the location. After the FNAF 2 movie pizzeria sign being revealed, I kinda think that it is possible that the FNAF 2 pizzeria, which is the grand reopening, could have been actually the place where the MCI happened. Just because the FNAF 2 pizzeria sign in the movie is called just Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Like, there's no Freddy Fazbear Pizza place like the FNAF 1 movie, or like the the pizzeria simulator and etc. Like it's just called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, like just plain, like, which kind of makes me think that it's the original one, the first one, basically.
I mean, I can
and it would
see
make sense
something
with
like
the
that, but
grand
at the same time, it
reopening.
is already confirmed within the first FNAF movie that the MCI happens there. I mean, we even see it in like the opening with
in the movie,
the yellow
yeah, but,
rabbit
like,
luring the children.
in the movie, yeah, but like like, well, maybe not. Okay, well, maybe not the MCI happened there, but like it's like the original location that came first, the first Freddy Fazbear's, not the Fredbears, but like the first Freddy Fazbear's, I think, maybe.
Maybe.
It's called reopening after all. So.
And in FNAF 2, the phone guy calls it the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. That's why Matt Pat would always put a pizzeria before this one on the timelines back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
I do think. I do think what.
I just wanted to say, remember when Matt Pat used the Gravity Falls diner for Fredbear's Family Diner?
That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. I was gonna say that I think that what could happen in the second FNAF movie would be something like while like Freddy the first Freddy's opens and they're starting to build the new and improved Freddy's, but then the MCI happens and they just abandon it.
Yep, fair enough.
That makes sense.
Is that all for Golden Duo
But,
and etc.?
I feel like I explained everything that I wanted to, really. My thoughts really just are summed up to like Crying Child's memories attached to the MCI children, and then once they're all free, Crying Child's happiest day is in FNAF World with that one TV ending, because if you go into the files, you can actually look at that little ending after going in. It's the TV ending that after you go into the Red Lake. If you go into the files and look at the TV ending, it has happiest day over the top of it. So I think that's probably what Crying Child's happiest day is, and I interpret it as like him watching TV with Mike and Elizabeth. The TV seems to be level with them and the ground. So
Which one's the puppet? I've always thought one of them was the puppet because they have a big hood on their back of their head.
Hood?
Oh no, I thought it was just their silhouettes.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it's just
an angel.
Oh, I've always thought that was the puppet with
No.
the two victims from the newspapers in FNAF 1.
No, I just seen it as three figures sitting together, one being like the parental figure or like the older figure, and two of them being smaller ones. Like it's like Crying Child and Elizabeth on the left and right, and then Michael being the older brother being in the middle.
Oh,
with
and he
his
has
arms
a hat,
around them.
and he has like a hat.
I don't think it's a hat. I think it's just their silhouettes.
Really? You don't think those? You might be right. Yeah.
It doesn't really
I
look
think it's
like
just
it
silhouettes,
has a hood.
honestly.
Maybe it's just messy hair.
I think it's
I
just.
mean, I
Scott
could
being
see it
weird with
being
his
an
pixel
angel, I
art.
guess. Yeah, it's like his pixel art is weird. I've been in the files of FNAF World, and while finding the happiest day thing, I did also find that each one of these pixels are a separate pixel. Like these are all just separate. It's not like pixel art imported into it. It's like it's literally just separated pixels, separated individual squares that are put onto the screen, and you can individually move them around. It's weird and bizarre.
It's
Yeah.
the
So
pieces
we
put
take what we can
together.
get.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've seen it like I haven't seen it like that. I just saw it as two people looking at a television screen sitting on the ground, especially because in FNAF 4 we see their television is on the ground next to the couch. So, Michael, Elizabeth, and Crying Child sitting in front of the TV on the ground. I feel like that could fit. But either way, no matter the interpretation, I feel like it's supposed to be representative of Crying Child's Happiest Day. I never saw FNAF 3 Happiest Day being Crying Child's Happiest Day. I feel like that just wouldn't make sense with the whole theming of the missing children's incident and leaving Cassidy out for almost no reason.
Even though the Happiest Day is like a reverse version of the Bite of 87 or Bite of 80 Chomp of 83, I guess.
I mean, the Big Bite as Week Before would put it, which lovely name for that, by the way. But
that's a great name.
Okay, so two things for that. One, if Crying Child's memories are all attached to the MCI victims, I feel like, one being attached to Cassidy would also make sense. After all, the Foxy spirit is literally in Fredbear's, so I feel like, I feel like you could make a bigger argument that the Foxy spirit is the Crying Child because he's in Fredbear's, literally in Fredbear's. But no, I don't believe that. I think it's just each MCI victim has a memory correlating.
Do you mean stage 01? Stage 01 is Fredbear's?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what else it could be.
Yeah, I've just always been skeptical that people are quick to call the FNAF 4 restaurant that the Crying Child goes to Fredbear's.
The reason people believed it really was the FNAF 4 teaser having the property of Fredbear's family diner.
That is very key. I think that is. But the FNAF 3 phone calls introduce Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and they have Springlock suits there as a regular thing.
That is an interesting detail.
So, is there any hard evidence? Is there a sign outside that I missed that says Fredbear's Family Diner? Is there something? Please. Anybody?
I mean, other than the main mascot, if you want to talk about outside stuff, I don't think it's Freddy's because Fredbear is posted up on the wall outside.
Excellent point.
So if it was Freddy's, I feel like we would see the titular character Freddy Fazbear.
That's a really good point.
Well, I
plus
think,
there's
the
posters from Steelwolf for Fredbear's Family Diner. What was that?
I think Fredbear and Freddy are pretty much the same character, and we separate them as different characters. But really in the franchise, I think they are pretty much the same character as mascot. Where
I mean, the Fredbear and Friends TV show in FNAF 4 does depict them as separate characters, so I'm a little skeptical on that, but I see where you're coming from, honestly, because I've had similar thoughts about that.
Fredbear has been depicted as kind of brownish, in multiple cases, and so
golden brown, as one could say.
Yeah.
I do think they
brown.
were originally the same character, but then later on separated into two individual characters.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, a long time ago. Freddy Bear's Sing and Show long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at
whatever
some
the
point in
hell
the
that
70s,
is.
probably when Fredbear's opened. Because, in the Fredbear's Sing and Show, it's called Fredbear's Sing and Show. The mascot's also named Freddy.
Okay, so Cheeda, you asked about how, if there's anything that could point at it being Fredbear's Family Diner.
Yes, please.
Now, there's not really directly, but we can argue if we stretch some things. Then we can argue that in the FNAF 4, we see the same locations as the Midnight Motors, with the After House being the same house and the Juniors being the FNAF 4 pizzeria, and that Charlie died at Juniors. And then and we know that in the novels at least, Charlie died at Fredbear's, making Junior's Fredbear's Family Diner.
Yeah. I've always loved this take that you have.
And so
is that the restaurant that Security Puppet takes place in is Junior's. That's a really cool take, Spring.
I mean, most people believe that, but some people
Really?
Yeah, but
I've heard most people say it's just a random bar, honestly.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
that's also an option, but like.
Oh, you mean Junior? Sorry.
You see, the issue
Some
with
people
that
also
is
believe that William is coming back from killing someone, and it's in a completely different area.
yeah, it's not in a neighborhood like in FNAF 4.
Well,
Yeah.
I would argue that it's
I
simply...
mean, then again,
Scott just didn't show it being a forested area in FNAF 4, and he just didn't show it being a neighborhood area in Midnight Murders. And like, it's actually just a combination of both in reality, or you could argue.
And
I will
also,
admit that,
Fredbear's is walking distance. FNAF 4.
I mean,
Yeah.
who says that
I will
Cheetah's
will
isn't
admit
walking
that,
distance? The runaway kid runs there, so... Who says that?
I will admit that it could just be like how the mini games are stylized.
Yeah.
Like, you know, looking at the mini games, I feel like it's reasonable for them not to be like one-to-one with what you would see in reality.
Like,
for instance,
like for example, the
like, you know,
Halloween
you're not gonna
minigames don't match
see
exactly the
Springtrap
FNAF
with
1
just
map.
3 face holes with no detail, you know?
Like even the FNAF, like the Follow Me map doesn't looks quite different from the FNAF 1 map if you think about it. Like with columns there being, and like kitchen missing, the most important part of pizzerias really.
And Freddy and Bonnie having buttons and things like and then especially with what we were talking about earlier with the FNAF 3 mini games, you know, you have Toy Chica, Mangle, Balloon Boy looking completely different to their actual counterparts. And I was gonna get into this earlier while we were talking about it, but you know, if whether or not you want to regard the mini games as like actual mini games or representations of memories, I personally think of them more as representations of memories. Like, they're not going to be actual like, you know, they're not supposed to depict any real place, because if they were, then BB's Air Adventure, Mangle's Quest, the Toy Chica minigame, those would make no sense at all. But especially for Stage 01, and about what you were saying with, like, is there any evidence for what we see in FNAF 4 being Fredbears, or Stage 01 being Fredbears? I'm pretty sure in the week before, Ralph refers to the very first location being the location that the Bite of 83 happens at. And, you know, I feel like we all know the first location was Fredbear's.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that.
Yeah.
But, like,
Thank you.
Actually,
Thank you
it
for
was
looking into that.
test.
I don't know how that would work, but but like, back to Shatter Victim for just a second. So just to finish my thoughts, I do think that each and every MCI victim does have like a piece of Crying Child's memories. I feel like that's especially shown through Stage 01 with the Foxy spirit, because that feels very specific. And, you know, I feel like Cassidy also being in a flipped Fredbear's Family Diner makes sense. But at the same time, something interesting that I found in Into the Pit, the Into the Pit game, the layout is exactly 1-to-1 with Happiest Day, which I think is rather interesting. Like, it's not a flipped Fredbear's Family Diner, it's exactly like how it is. Like, there's an exit door at the back, and then there's 4 tables leading to the other end of the pizzeria.
Well, I would argue
And,
that the Happiest
that's more
Day
towards
isn't
the stage.
split Fredbear's, but actually just the other, like the left. So like in FNAF 4 we see the right side of the room, and in FNAF and in Happiest Day we see the left side of the room.
Yeah, I think that's plausible. But like,
Yeah.
I do still think it could be Fredbear's based off Shatter Victim, but I just wanted to say that in Into the Pit we do see it's literally like directly 1-to-1 matching with the Happiest Day layout, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I haven't really seen a lot of people mention it.
To be fair, any pizzeria really can have a matching layout to Happiest Day if you think about it. I mean, it's just like a big party room with many tables. Like,
I think we gotta look into this
pizzeria
though.
has
This is
that.
FNAF we're talking about, Spring.
People make it out to be more complicated than it actually is.
I think there might be something there though. We really need to look into stuff like that.
Anyways, maybe should we talk about the Mikevictim theory?
Oh, Mikevictim. I know
Mikevictim.
I know a certain glowing Freddy Fazbear that would flip onto his side if he heard me talking about this.
Okay, well,
Oh boy.
let me start by just summarizing the theory for viewers, I guess, and just to remind everybody everything. So basically, the theory is that, well, Grindchild died in FNAF 4, and William promises to put him back together, which is connected to the theory that William is the final speaker.
Or Charlie, or Cassidy, or anyone.
I mean, this specific theory is connected to this, basically, where William
really?
promises Grindchild to put him back together, and what he means is put him literally back together as a robot, and like...
That's, yeah,
and,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
And all this time, Grindchild is Mike, and that's why Mike doesn't die in this location, because he's a robot, so he can't die, really. And then why would he turn purple? So that doesn't really make sense. But also people argue that Grindchild is Michael because they have the same hair color and the same skin color, while Foxy Bro and Mike in FNAF's location have different skin colors. So that's one of the things. And another thing is that people connected the box in FNAF 4 to the box that Charlie Bot was in the 4th closet.
That's interesting. Also, Foxy Bro's skin changes color between minigames a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot.
It has to do with
really.
his it has to do with his sprite from when he's standing within the diner.
Yeah.
And then the sprite where he's jumping out from, I believe it's either under the bed or from behind the TV.
Or both.
His skin color changes from or both of them. His skin color changes between all of the appearances, which I think it's
Mike's
quite funny that people. I think it's quite funny that people try to put like the Fredbear plush is he's changing characters between dialogue because the yellow is slightly a different color. Meanwhile, here's Foxy Bro literally switching his skin color during every appearance he has.
That's because he's an entered children.
That's because the Foxy Bro is.
All the bullies are entered children.
Hey, welcome to Game Theory. Did you know that every single instance of Foxy Bro is an entirely different character? There's Mike 1, Mike 2, Mike 3, Mike 4, and the dreaded Golden Mike.
You know what? Maybe we should try, each of us, trying to make an impression of MatPat.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory.
Hello,
Today.
Internet, and welcome to Game Theory.
All right.
Today, Michael is Glamrock Freddy. My favorite.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory.
That's British MatPat?
Oh, good.
Isn't that just Dako?
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Doko back again.
That was like a voice recording.
That just sounds just like him. Can you say something else in that voice?
What do you want me to say?
This is not FNAF.
Joe Chica is William Upton.
December.
Boy Chica is William Afton.
Oh my gosh.
What the?
You
That's
sound just
exactly
like
really
you have the
good.
same
That's
inflection.
Exactly like Darko.
That was really
What the-
good.
There's no way. You sound like that.
But on
It probably
topic
helps that I
for
somewhat sound
Mikevictim,
British, because I get a lot of people saying, are you British? And I'm like, no, mate, I'm Australian.
They can't tell.
Okay.
Okay,
Somewhat on
so-
topic for Mikevictim. I used to believe in Mikevictim a long time ago.
I don't know if I ever believed it.
I can
What
remember
happened?
if I did or not.
What made you stop?
What
believing?
happened? Common sense? Question mark?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But no, most of it was just like most of it, I'm gonna be honest, one of it was one of the reasons I used to say was because the skin color was different. I used to
Really?
say that too. I
Really?
fell into that trap.
Did you
I fell
know,
into that trap, and then I
Just Andy Matronic used to have a hilarious video about how all the children in FNAF 4 and the bullies are entered children.
I mean, some
What
people
the
still.
fuck?
I mean, some people
Yeah,
still believe
it's,
that
it's-
like all of the neighborhood.
Can you
kids
put
are,
that in
like,
chat? I wanna see it.
animatronics.
I have tried to look for it. It's like it only lives on in my memory, but I'm pretty sure it was Andy
No.
Matronic. It's like an
I
embarrassing.
need to
theory.
see that.
I think
it's
I
the
I need
most
to see
embarrassing.
that.
I think I always preferred more the golden victim really over the Mike victim. Though it's hard for me to remember which one
Yeah.
I believe.
I'm glad you like the.
I
Sorry.
I remember believing that Mike victim is I mean not Mike victim. I remember believing that Michael was so like entered inside Michael was Pin Guy and that William actually never murdered anybody.
Oh, that's
Pink
a
guy.
pink-
Yeah,
pink guy.
I remember that.
You stole the words
remember
right
that.
out of my mouth.
It's always that kind of stuff that I think like saying plush Fredbear having two speakers, like I always think it's ridiculous whenever anyone says plush Fredbear has two speakers because like the color of the text slightly changes so subtly that you can barely notice it because like pink guy and purple guy Mike
Yeah,
fair
switching
enough.
skin colors between mini games.
But
Like,
You are
the
right,
interesting
yeah.
the interesting thing that the slight different color is actually the same color as Pigtails girl, who says rumors about animatronics coming to life at night, which is out of all neighborhood kids seems the most interesting, the most
Yeah,
interesting.
cosmic.
Yeah,
I
so, like,
would agree with you if all of the other characters didn't have their own color of text.
No. Actually,
but-
there are two boys that have the same green text. So
Still, that's green, and if all the color was gray in the whole game and the color changed at the end, then I wouldn't care.
I mean, at the same time, like, even if you want to say like, oh yeah, they switch between like whoever's possessing the Fredbear plush and William Afton, like, if there's that girl who has the same exact text color, I would be more inclined to believe that if it's the girl, that it's the girl who's talking,
The
because
whole
like at
time,
least we
yeah.
actually see, because like, you know, if you want to say it's William, why not have it be purple or something?
Or
I
have it
kinda
be
like
a
it
Golden
too, that it's
Bonnie
the girl
plush and not
talking.
Golden Freddy. Thank
well,
you for bringing that up.
William is also associated with yellow.
Well, yeah, but still, I'm saying like for this specific instance, because I mean, especially back then, he was mainly associated with purple. But like for this specific instance, if we're talking about, oh yeah, the text color changing means it's a separate character, then like
Yeah.
why would it be this separate character that never talks
Yeah.
instead of the one who actually has that text color?
Yeah, as for it being a different character, that's where it gets hard to explain, but I can
know-
almost guarantee that it's important.
you know, I have a whole. Oh hey.
Hey, there's Krakoa!
Sorry, I was napping.
It's
No, dude, you're just in time.
Hello.
Hey, so I
Just in time. We've been streaming for like 2 hours.
I forgot what I wanted
my
to
lord.
say. 1 second. Oh, I remembered. So, there was actually, so I have a whole theory video I made and posted, but that I took down just because I started believing that it's the same speaker in FNAF 4.
Yeah.
Anyways, does anybody have anything to add to the Mike theory? Why it's more possible than it seems and less possible
Yeah.
than it seems?
Yeah. This is my flimsiest piece of evidence, but all of FNAF 4 revolves around the crying child. If he ends up being some random victim, just like the other Golden Freddy, why would the whole entire game be spent on his origins and stuff?
Like
This to me feels like a much more important character. So to me that points to Mike.
yeah. The thing is, like, every game, like in every Scott game, we played as Mike, except for UCN and FNAF 4.
See,
I
isn't that a
mean,
weird
kind-
coincidence?
Yeah, but also, the thing is, another thing that made people connect Michael and Crying Child is that they believe that Crying Child was the one seeing the nightmare. And so, and in the logbook we see Michael drawing the nightmare Fredbear, making people connect Crying Child and Michael.
Yes.
Um, but
that also connects to the Easter eggs. Why would Michael be seeing the flowers, the pills, and the IV bag if he's not the victim?
It could be just.
Well, now we have the context of
We're-
dittophobia.
Like, we talked about this
So,
last time,
those-
so do we really need to talk about it, really?
So what's
Yes,
the
yes,
discussion
I
right
mean,
now?
let me say since I wasn't here last time, let me
Yeah.
put my 2 cents into the Fazbear slot machine. Since considering now we have the context of dittophobia, FNAF 4 could be explained as a game where the main gameplay is looked at through differing perspectives. You could have it be the crying child who has went through the fear experiments, or Michael who has went through the fear experiments. The pills, the IV drip, the flowers, those could be specifically crying child related memories. It could even be Afton's memories of it, if you wanted to say, because of like what we see in UCN. But from how I see it, I think that FNAF 4, at least the current how FNAF 4 currently is, I think it's instead of just one person, it's supposed to be the perspective of it's not supposed to be the perspective of whoever's actively in there. It's supposed to be the perspective of what the location is like. And since now we have the context of, crying child, Mike, William, the perspective can switch between the 3 of them if you wanted to, or other people who we haven't seen, like Rory or other fear experiment victims.
Plus drop kid from the neighborhood.
Yeah, maybe something like that even.
That was like an actual theory back in the day,
But-
that we are playing as that plush drop kid because he has a plush.
That's not terribly far-fetched.
But my main interpretation of FNAF 4 is that it's just we're not playing as somebody specific, but we're playing the experience. And that experience can be tied to multiple characters based on what we've seen. It ties to Crying Child because he, has the nightmares. He's heavily tied to the nightmares in general. It applies to Mike because he knows what Nightmare Fredbear looks like, or Nightmare. And it applies to William because he's the one who made it. He's the one who knows what they look like.
When you say Mike,
it
I
could
assume
even
you mean the Foxy Bro.
Yeah, Foxy Bro, Mike as in logbook because I think Mike Lafton and the Crying Child are two separate characters. But onto that, I feel like the FNAF movie has done its due and debunked that into the ground, because I do believe they're iterations of Mike, Crying Child, and Abby or Elizabeth.
Yeah,
like
that's kind of a parallel, but it's like that thing where the song sounds the same, but it's a different song.
Yeah, it's more accurately, it's like how Charlie is the puppet in the games, but but the puppet doesn't even exist in the original novels, but it's still the same Charlie.
We just never hear about.
Yeah. But as for like the FNAF 4 being about the Crying Child, why isn't he like more important in later games? I feel like that could be applied to a lot of characters who get introduced in one game and are almost never heard of again.
You know what
Can
I
you
thought?
can you make like an example?
Fritz Smith.
Who could
Oh
be
boy.
Michael?
That's Michael.
Or William.
Well, depending on what you believe, depending on what most people believe, Michael is way too young to actually be a night guard in FNAF 2.
That is definitely that's a huge egg in your basket there.
I mean, listen, I'm just saying, there's not really a lot of things pointing to Michael being Fritz Smith other than just the theory itself. And him using an alias once before where it was literally just his name.
Doesn't he get fired for odor?
The only piece of evidence I can think of is what you said, the odor. And he being fired for the same reasons as he is in FNAF 1. But I feel like Help Wanted gives us an explanation to that, where it's just like they're just making shit up to fire someone.
Guys, okay.
Whenever they're ready to fire somebody, they just make shit up. Also, you could just say that it's another one of Scott's many jokes. For instance, poop on the floor. Calling the gamer smelly after playing the game for so long. I honestly think it's more of a joke than anything else.
Yeah. But it's a very Scott thing to start something as a joke and turn it into a plot point later on.
The whole FNAF basically is that.
Okay, so what's the discussion right now? It's about FNAF 4 or something.
It's about
I've driven us into the dark side again.
Oh, great. Here we go again.
This is the dark side. The dark side of the Force is the most powerful. Excuse me. The dark side of the Force is a powerful thing.
God damn, I can't make the...
That's pretty good. That's like a mixture of Afton and...
It was pretty good.
I am...
It was pretty good.
Cosmos actually hasn't heard my Frieza voice, the original one.
Anyways, I wanted to say, so you just mentioned about how Michael is too young to be the night guard in FNAF 2. That is actually one of the things used for Mikevictim, where people argue, well, Mike can be in FNAF, be the night guard in FNAF 2 because he is a robot, so like he can be rebuilt like in alien age basically.
So he started as a crying child and he was built into a strong, non-crying man.
And strong, independent robot man.
Hey, I'll take what I can get with Mikevictim. You gotta take these freebies.
Aye.
Okay, is there anything else that anybody wants to ask to the Mikevictim?
I just think the fact he dies debunks Mikevictim.
You see, that's really the first hurdle that I come into thinking about Mikevictim. I'm like, how does
the fact that it's never elaborated on is one of the big ones.
I think also the fact that a robot within a robot sounds kind of awkward, so metal within metal.
That's the first thing I thought of when I first saw the Golden Freddy cutscene from Sister Location. I was like, we're now a robot sandwich or Oreo?
Oh god.
Oh, and
we're now Oreo sounds good, I think.
Combine this
robot
with
Twinkie?
Combine this with
no.
Combine this with Mike Trap.
Basically, yeah. you can't talk about
Oh,
Mike
boy.
Victim without going into Mike.
I
Mike
actually
Bot.
believe Mike Trap.
Oh,
back in the
great.
day.
I think
Robot.
I don't know. I don't know
Robot.
how.
God.
I
I
believe
don't know
it
how,
was-
but I never believed Mike Trap.
Like, it was just
I
so
kinda
hard
did
for me
back
to
then.
believe that Scrap Shop was Spring Shop. Like, they
Yeah.
look nothing alike.
Yeah, they do look nothing
So
like.
that was my main reason why I believed it. And like, I only stopped believing it when we saw that in FNAF AR, Spring Shop says stacks like William.
Oh, you're right, huh?
That's the only like
Yeah.
that's the thing that made me stop believing it.
Yeah, I believed Mike Trap for like 5 seconds after the Golden Freddy cutscene in Sister
Speaking
Location,
of
and
that,
then
why is it
and then-
called Golden Freddy Night?
I have thought about that a lot. I actually don't know. There's no Golden Freddy in Sister Location anywhere.
Unless the
Yeah,
end is Golden
no.
Freddy.
Yeah, but why is Sister Location's maximum 2020 mode called Golden Freddy mode?
Like,
Just because the maximum difficulty
I
is
think
called
that's just
Golden
because
Freddy
it's the
mode, I guess.
hardest.
like you could just call it Night
I think
Mode
it's
just
just
like
'cause
all
it's
the
the
other
hardest
times.
one.
I accept those explanations. There's got to be a real reason though, right? There's got to be a real reason because
Isn't
Sister
FNAF
Location.
2, doesn't FNAF 2 have a custom night that's Golden Freddy mode?
I believe it
Yeah.
is called Golden Freddy mode, so
Yeah.
it absolutely could be just a reference.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Also,
don't
if
know.
you want to really think about it, then UCN as a whole is Golden Freddy mode because of its direct line to Golden Freddy.
Oh my
Getting
gosh,
a
did you
Golden
just solve
Freddy
this?
trophy after 2020, 2020, 2050 mode.
I think you
Um,
finally just solved this for me. What does
Just the
Golden Freddy
entire-
mode mean?
just Golden Freddy mode literally just means, oh, it's the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, I think, and like
Yeah.
UCN absolutely represents it. You're so right. At least we solved something today.
Is that it for Mikevictim, or is there anything else?
You'd think I would have something else.
and silly.
I'm actually saving all of my great points for the awesome debate show that we're gonna do once all these shows are over.
Okay, then we're gonna move on to my favorite theory of what happens to Crying Child that I don't
Alright.
actually believe anymore, but I still like it.
Okay, but just one more time
I
around.
might leave after this one. I need to get pizza.
Oh, sorry. I took us. It took too long to do Mike Victims. One more time around for the Easter eggs. How do you explain those if it's not Mike that was the victim? How is he seeing the Easter eggs?
Which
The,
Easter
sorry,
eggs?
I should explain the flowers, the pills, and the IV.
I mean, isn't it implied Crying Child's in a coma?
Yeah, it is.
yeah, but why would the flowers and the IV and the pills?
Because
Um,
Mike
can't
saw them
again,
when he visited
from-
him in the hospital
Yeah.
bed.
He can't see them.
Or
He's
from what
literally
I
in a-
said earlier,
Or Willem is experimenting
From what I said
on
earlier,
Michael
it's
and
kind of
injecting
like,
him with Remnant.
I do like that
Remnant.
explanation, Frank. That is good.
from what I said earlier, I just think that FNAF 4 is the perspective of multiple people at a time, like, you know, the perspective of a experience rather than one specific person.
Oh, so like
So,
we see,
like that.
we see
I
the
think
Easter
it's-
eggs. We see the Easter eggs, but he doesn't. That type of thing.
Yeah, and those Easter eggs relate to a specific character,
Let me
Interesting.
say
but they're not
something.
like actual. They're not like actual things in there.
You're bringing something to the table here.
So, remember, like, as I said, that people believe that, we play as Crying Child in the nightmares, and that's why people believe that Crying Child is Michael, and etc. I just realized something. Really, it's really just like any other FNAF game, where, like, we play as Michael, for example, if we believe that we play in every single game as Michael. Including FNAF 3 and FNAF 2. Then in minigames, we never play as Michael. We never play as the Night Guard. We never play as the protagonist of that game. So, like, it makes sense why we like in FNAF 4 we are not playing as Michael but as Crying Child, because we have never really played as the Night Guard in minigame. It always was
that is why it's my flimsiest piece of
it was
evidence.
always
but
about the kids being murdered, really. About the souls.
yeah, it's not just one night harps and circles around the crying child. It's every single night, and it's the whole game is about this character. To me that makes it a little more important, but that's that's all there is to that. Is that if he just becomes like Golden Freddy or Fredbear or something later on, why would we spend the whole entire game showing the origin story of this character? You'd think that would just take one minigame and not, you know.
I mean, you could
I
argue
would
that
think
the
it would
follow
probably
me could
be
just
because of the
one
motive
minigame.
of the main character. Why is he in FNAF 1 and 3? It's because he's redeeming himself. He's redeeming himself not only for the kids, but mostly to his younger brother after what he did.
Yeah, I particularly have never liked that theory that Michael is the older brother that killed his younger brother.
Okay, are we done with Mikevictim?
Yeah, I'm like I am on the endless quest to prove that Foxy Bro is not Michael.
Okay, now.
Oh, please be done by Mikevictim.
Now, before.
I will never be done.
Now, before.
Of course you aren't.
Before Cosmic Star will leave for pizza.
Yes, sorry for
and
keeping
get
up.
jump scared by Plesio while trying to get it. Let's talk about my favorite theory that, as I said, I don't really believe, but that I do think I did believe it back in the day when I came up with it. That's Jeremy Victim.
Oh.
Okay, does anybody can guess what it is about?
It's about Mikevictim being Jeremy from FNAF 2.
Yes, and also FNAF VR. Both.
What?
So basically, my idea was, let me actually find that real quick. Let me find the original document, that was like my first theory I'm like really ever made. It was back in 2018, I believe, when FNAF VR was coming out or came out.
Damn, I feel low.
I wonder how fast I'm gonna find it. Yep, here we go. I can I can try to read what I wrote here. If anybody wants to listen to the original thing I wrote.
Yeah, go ahead.
And like it was me back in the day, so like right now I would have different things to say about it, but okay. What happens with the? I'm sharing my screen. I'm showing it on the stream. Let me actually also put it in the chat. Okay. What happens with
Real
the?
Real quick.
What?
Sorry, I do have to go now.
Okay.
It's been wonderful on the stream. I hope you have me again.
Thank you for
Sorry to
being here.
interrupt, but I'm just leaving. But yeah,
Okay, well,
I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me.
You can watch this
Hey,
later
thank
on the stream, on the posted stream. Have a good day then.
Yep.
And
Yeah, thanks for
don't
being
let
here.
the pizza bite back.
Have a great night.
Yeah.
All right, see y'all later.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.
Okay, let me just fix. Quick, here we go.
Still need.
Okay, so let me read the theory I wrote. It was posted on Amino back then. Okay, what happens with the crying child from FNAF 4 after the bite? There's 70% of that theory being truth.
Truth.
Yeah.
I like that. Truth.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the truth.
I have no idea where I get the 70% from. Warning, this is just a theory. If you don't want to believe it, do not.
Well, good thing there was a warning.
Yeah, major
Every theory
warning
video
right there.
should have that. Hello and welcome to FNAF Theory, and today we will have theory about crying child. Yeah, grammar and spelling aren't the best here.
Grammar is not in the best interest right now.
We
FNAF
all know
Theory,
what
though, that's a great name.
We all know what happened in FNAF 4, but what happened after the FNAF 4? There are two theories. There are two theories. The first theory tells that after the bite, Crying Child dies and becomes Fredbear / Clone Freddy. A second theory tells us that Crying Child is Mike, and after the bite, he dies and William puts him back together as humanoid animatronics. But with a small case, I have a new theory, and there is evidence for it. Crying Child is Jeremy, and after the bite, he dies, and William put Jeremy back together as humanoid animatronic. And if you one of people who think that bite that we see in FNAF 4 is a bite of 87, that happens in FNAF 2, then it's still possible that Jeremy is Crying Child, because bite happens at summer and FNAF 2 happened at winter. Okay, that me going on to saying that FNAF 2 happens in winter, while the tapes, the phone guy tapes, happen in summer. That's
yeah. The paycheck contradicts what the phone guy says.
Yeah, and like I make a point here that actually Jeremy did not get the bite of 87 because he wasn't even working at that time or something. Now, blah blah blah. Now, evidence FNAF VR help wanted work rated by the Fazbear. This is horribly written. Now, evidence. FNAF VR help wanted work rated work rated by the Fazbear Entertainment to stop those stories, and in the company works Jeremy as a beta tester. And in the game,
I just saw the title.
What?
I just saw the title.
I read it to you.
What happens with the cringe child?
Wait, what? The Crying Child.
The cringe child?
Oh, the cringe child. I have no idea what it's called. I think that was a mistake that there was here.
I mean, if he's ends up being Michael, it really will be the cringe child.
The cringe child.
Okay.
Sorry, I just saw that. I was like, oh god.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing.
Okay, so works Jeremy as a beta tester, and in the game there was a room. One second. Okay, let me continue reading that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait. Okay, never mind. I think like somebody joined or left, just like that. Anyways, as Jeremy as a beta tester, and in the game there was a room and nightmares from FNAF 4, and the only one who knew was Crying Child from FNAF 4. So I was saying that basically I thought that the FNAF 4 happened to Crying Child, not Michael, and so since Crying Child is the only one who knew about the nightmares, that's why Jeremy has to be Crying Child, because he told the company about the nightmares and they recreated them basically. Beta tester, and in the game there was a room and nightmares from blah blah blah. Was in FNAF 2, and FNAF 2 was also in the game. I think that Jeremy told them about FNAF 4 and 2 when he was testing his okay, Saw. That's how I wrote Saw. Okay. The glitch trap William / his dad. Jeremy cuts his face off, and the Cosette girl. So Jeremy with his face on the floor and something that looks like ink. Some people think that it is blood, but blood can be black only under black light. And if there were black light, Cassette girl would tell us, but she did not. And what can be look like ink the right and the right answer is oil. And animatronics do have oil, and here is disproof of Mike being an animatronic, but it will work only if Mike inside Springtrap. If he's not, this disproof will not work. So Mike cannot be crying. Okay, I'm gonna give up on reading this nonsense, but
Yeah, oh my, I can't help but smile about the cringe child though.
yeah.
That's the only
So
thing that I
basically,
can
the
really
thing I
think
said
of.
here was that I believe that I don't believe Mikevictim because Mike bleeds in sister location, and in FNAF 1 we see his eyes fall out, and in Mike Trap he like bleeds in the follow me, if that's Mike Trap in that theory. So that's why I did not believe Mikevictim, and instead I believed Jeremy Victim. And that's so basically in FNAF VR, that cannot be blood because it's black, and blood can be only black under a black light. And well, first of all, why would the room be in black light? And first of all, and second of all, Cassette Girl would mention that there would be black light if there was black light. So that was black in my opinion back there. And the way I explained it was that it is oil, animatronic oil, and that it is not blood. And Jeremy is trying to rebuild as a robot, and that's why he bleeds oil and not blood. I did not know that. I did not know that Charlie Bot bleeds blood in the book. So I guess.
And what part of sister location does Michael bleed real blood?
In the scooper.
The last night
cutscene.
when he gets scooped.
Yeah, like
Is there?
we see it covered
Oh, there
in
is blood on
yeah.
the edge of the screen, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I see that.
So that's why I did not believe Mikevictim. But I believed. But I did like the idea of Jeremy Victim, because so the idea was that Crying Child is rebuilt as a robot, but he is Jeremy, and together Mike and Jeremy work together with Henry to help like to go around the pizzerias and like find William and free the children and free the souls by tampering with
Oh, and he
animatronics.
used his real name on the paycheck?
Yeah, so like basically two brothers working together to free the spirits of the
Yeah, why does that
kids.
feel familiar?
So that's what I liked about it. Oh yeah, that does sound like Street Threat, I guess. I mean, kinda.
I was thinking mostly Thor and Loki.
Oh, that too. Yeah, I mean, so and that's in FNAF VR. That's also Jeremy, being Crying Child, and that he cuts off his face and bleeds oil because he's an animatronic. But also that I try to explain with that how FNAF VR had FNAF 4 and FNAF 2, because Jeremy told the company about FNAF 4 and FNAF 2. So yeah, that was my theory back then, and I still kind of like it. Let's be honest, but that's kind of a nice narrative.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, there's certainly a connection there between the name on the paycheck in FNAF 2 and the help wanted character Jeremy. There is absolutely I don't know if they're the exact same character, but
I mean, we
that's
also
on the
have
table.
Jeremy, the Bonnie victim. So there's
Yeah,
a lot
so
of
there's
Jeremys.
There's at least 2 Jeremys, possibly 3.
Yeah. So
If
this is-
Jeremy ended up being the bite victim, that kid has serious issues right now. Poor kid.
Yeah, so there's I like this theory, even though I don't believe it anymore.
The theory that, like I said, so I think everyone should know by now. One theory I did not like back then, and I had to argue against it over and over and over, even bringing in real life little concepts to explain things, and it was just so frustrating. And it's BV5th.
Okay, so let me say what I know about BV5th. So like basically what I was told about BV5th, what it is. And I was told by Libra that, or somebody else yesterday, that it is actually not the BV thief that is most popular, but the BV thief that I was told about and that was explained to me was that William kills the fifth child, the fifth missing children, and then rebuilds him as a robot, and basically so basically builds. Wait, let me just find the word again. I said last time.
Oh my, this is gonna be very interesting territory over here.
Yeah. So, 1 second. Be with this. Okay. Okay. So, I forgot. What's the word for? I forget the word. I don't know. I thought about it yesterday.
The one they believed back in the day was Bite Victim died and Puppet revived him, and then he dies again.
Yeah, that's not what I heard. The thing I heard was basically, as I said,
See, my question to all of this would just be, why?
You know, when I was against BV5th, one thing that really got me was, wait, hold on a sec. I'll be right back. I'll explain later.
Okay,
Like, why did William go to the extent of killing this kid and then deciding, I'm gonna rebuild him?
Yeah, so the theory that I heard was that basically William kills the fifth kid, and then rebuilds him and gaslights him into being his son, and then he dies again in the bite. And he becomes Golden Freddy, and he is the vengeful spirit torturing William. So that's the theory I heard. That William rebuilt him.
Is this Draz's theory?
No.
Okay, sorry,
okay.
I'm back.
I mean that's not the BV that he believes.
Okay.
So
he believes JJ 6th.
Okay, so
JJ6.
JJ6.
Okay, so correct. So as I said, the BB thief I know is that William kills the fifth child and rebuilds him and gaslights him to being his son, and then he dies again and becomes Golden Freddy, and then he becomes the vengeful spirit tormenting William. That's the BB thief I know.
The main thing I was trying to argue against BV5th is that if a kid goes missing by a parent and then all of a sudden gets found immediately, wouldn't they investigate him and try to figure out, piece everything together?
You see, to be fair, that happens in the novel trilogy with Charlie.
I have a question. Does BB5th go on to explain the FNAF 3 Balloon Boy tree, where there's 3 grayed out balloon boys underneath some kind of tree?
That's still kind of.
I know nothing about BB5th.
It pretty much
said everything.
Thought it was like about the Afton kids, but it could be wrong.
Oh, so it doesn't explain the FNAF 3 Balloon Boy tree?
I don't think so, honestly.
Darn it. I've always wanted to know what the deal was with that thing.
I always wanted to know what the hell is the tree too, but I could not for the life of me figure it out. All I could figure out was like, maybe it's the Afton kids. I mean, we
We
are
should
in
talk about it
BB's Air
in
Adventure.
the next stream when we're gonna talk about like the FNAF 6 ending
yeah.
with the tree gravestone.
I'm gonna take over the show once FNAF 6 comes around. I'm gonna have to
Oh
I'm gonna
dear.
have to hold myself back a lot.
All right, everyone, get the guns. He's gonna talk about my victim again.
Hey, I'd love to debate anyone.
Does anybody
Anyone
have
who wants
anything to
to.
say about BV5th? Because I know nothing about it. Except
Like
what
I
it
said, so there's many interpretations of BB5th. Like I said, one of them was the bite victim gets killed, and this has to involve Charlie first and then MCI after. But Charlie revives the puppet, and like I said, all the real life things I talked about comes to play. But he survives. He's scared it out of his mind, but he still lives with his father or whatever, and then dies in the bite and becomes the vengeful spirit or whatever. But it was the story was about love and compassion, I guess, to helping her friend, but yet she doesn't help her friend when the bite happens. It was inevitable, my friend. You must die now. After I saved you from death before.
I always saw BB5th as just way too complex and having no evidence, really.
They could only give him one extra life.
And like,
yeah,
just
he gave him a 1-up, and then he died from it.
Well, that's
Damn
it.
1-up
We have
mushrooms.
talked about everything.
Have we really?
Oh, there's one thing I wanted to talk about, really.
Okay.
But like, there's nothing to say about BB5th, right?
Oh.
I hate it. That's my explanation.
Oh,
Is
maybe,
there
maybe
sorry.
Draz and Libra can talk about it next time.
Yeah, they could pick up the slack a little bit there. Maybe they're
I am going to need some non-brain rot things. Also, I have pickle soda.
BB5th sounds like brain rot, let me be honest.
It kind of does. Since we're bringing up Balloon Boy, anybody have anything to say about the FNAF 4 Nightmare Balloon Boy? Scott did say he's not canon or something. He said
He says he's canon.
He said it was
but-
canon.
Okay, thank you. I forget which one is and isn't canon. He said Mangle and Nightmarion are not. And Balloon Boy.
Every
Yeah.
character in the Halloween edition except Nightmare Balloon Boy is not a canon.
That always stuck out to me. Like
To
either
FNAF
Scott is just royally messing with us, or he has such a good reign, on the series that he knows exactly which ones are canon, which are not, and he can even tell us.
What if
Okay.
Nightmare Balloon Boy was simply canon because of that one guy who wanted to see Balloon Boy return?
I thought you were gonna mention Balloon Guy in FNAF 4, the Balloon Guy.
The balloon guy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
that
talk
guy.
about him actually.
Well,
so-
that goes into the DCI theory.
Yeah, so I'm gonna.
That's for
So
next
let's
time.
talk about the neighborhood kids and etc. And then finish the stream because I need to go.
Yeah.
So let's finish talking with this topic. So I
Yes.
have quite a lot to say about it. So we have the MCI kids, right?
Yep.
Oh, not the MCI kids. I meant neighborhood kids. FNAF.
The soon-to-be MCI. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
If only.
so yeah, FNAF 4
Aren't
kids.
most of them adults?
What?
I think they would be teenagers.
Oh,
Yeah, so
like the laughing guy.
Yeah, the laughing guy. He's still like in his. I think he might be in his preteen stage, and then
I
further
believe
down
it.
the road.
okay, so the thing I had was the theory I had was basically that, well, I think some of you may know the theory that like the neighborhood kids are the children wearing the colorful Oh, hey, Glycan!
Hey, glad you could make it, Glyco.
Just wanted to pop in and say what's up.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
we're pretty much finished in the stream talking about the last topic.
But we're on the last topic, so it's the neighborhood children.
Oh, nice. Well, I hope you guys had a good stream. I'm sorry I couldn't attend this one. I thought it was tomorrow.
Are you attending it right now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
you were
are
able
getting
to.
it right now.
Well, I'm in it. Yeah, I'm in it now. I know
Yeah,
my
in the
mic
end.
quality is pretty bad, but
Eh,
yeah, I'm
Sounds
here.
good. Sounds good to me.
Fine. Let me just put you on the TV.
Yeah. So, do you have anything to say about the neighborhood kids, the FNAF 4, like the laughing guy, the balloon
Yeah,
guy?
so here's what I think. I feel like the neighborhood kids, while they're real people, I feel like their purpose was just for like allusions, hints, and like references and stuff like that.
Oh, you don't think they're
Um,
Ennard children?
Oh, wait, is that? No, I never
No.
heard of that idea.
I'm joking. That's a
Ennard
really old
children?
theory.
It's a very,
God.
yeah, it sounds like a very old theory. But yeah, I just think like the kid that's laughing, also he just happens to be wearing the exact same clothing as the Freddy bully.
Yeah.
And has the same skin color. So I
I've
don't know
seen
what's to do
people-
with
yeah.
that.
I've seen people
Pigtail
connect that.
Girl is odd because she references what might be, but what I don't think is the MCI, which wouldn't make sense in this context.
That's interesting. How do you explain what she's saying then?
Well, you know, they hide, like they say, because like it wouldn't. How would she reference the MCI like 2 years before it even happened? And also like that well, that alone doesn't make
I
sense to
said
me.
last time, and
But then
I'll
there's
say it again, I
also
believe
the
it's
fact
MCI
that, like-
83 because of this.
What?
I said it last time, and I'll say it again. I believe MCI 83 because of this.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that's where we split apart.
I
But
guess a fair explanation towards it could just be Charlie's already dead.
Yeah, but
Charlie's already. Yeah. See,
that
yeah, I was
definitely
thinking
means
that exact.
at
I was
least
thinking that
Charlie
exact
is
same
dead.
thing.
I think that's definitely means that at least Charlie is.
Hold on, guys. A little situation just came up. I will have to leave for a couple minutes. I'll be back though.
It's okay.
All right.
All right.
Alrighty.
Okay,
I think so the laughing kid, yeah, I think he could be the Freddy bully,
he's most
because of the
likely.
fact that he's wearing the same clothing and everything. The other two kids that are in what was it? The bite area was not shown, most likely hidden around, but that one kid, I don't think he had, because I don't think the Freddy bully talked in the bite arena. Why did I call it the bite arena? Am I thinking of Spyro again? What the hell? Anyway, the
I
bite
have to-
area, the cutscene. But no one else is there except
Well,
for him, but he
I
doesn't
think-
talk.
Don't some of the other bullies talk? They say your brother sure is a crybaby.
Yes.
I don't quite remember the whole
I
scene.
think it was like Bonnie bully or Chica bully.
Oh, does it?
Mhm.
Is it like obvious who is saying it?
I mean, not sure, but like I think like the tax color maybe.
Okay, that. I actually have not watched that scene in a little while.
Yeah, but anyways, let me tell you my opinion on the neighborhood kids. So, well, not really my opinion because I don't really believe this theory, but like just a theory I have. So, first of all, some of you may know the theory that the neighborhood kids are the kids wearing the masks in FNAF Happiest Day, where
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
really
Interesting.
that's Libra even just mentioned it. So basically, the alligator mask is the plush shop kid. The orange elephant-like mask is the pigtails girl. The blue bear mask is
The blue rhinoceros.
is Freddy bully. The pink mask is the toy chica girl, and the purple mask is the balloon guy. So
Huh.
and like they are there because like they all were meant to come to the birthday party, but they didn't. But since Happiest Day is like a recreation of Granny Child's birthday, that's why they are there.
That does
Huh.
make sense.
Oh yeah, I never heard. How does Pigtail Girl know about the MCI 2 years before it even happened?
as I said, I believe that MCI happens before her saying that. So.
So what about but like hypothetically, let's say you didn't. How would that work?
Well, then she just talks about Charlie.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
Would
so
you-
Or it's
by
just
default-
spooky stories that's going around throughout the town.
That is believable. That is if it wasn't so specific, I would believe you.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's pretty damn specific.
It's very
But
specific.
I can't. I would go to MCI 83, but I can't because of the novels Into the Pit and all that
okay,
stuff.
anyways, as I was saying, I don't have much time left, so let me just.
Sorry about that.
As I was saying, the Happy Day is meant to be like a recreation of grandchild's birthday. So we have the receiver kid, and the 4 masked kids of Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Freddy, like in FNAF 4. But then also we have the colorful masked kids, which could be there are 5 of them, and they could all be the 5 kids from the FNAF 4. The neighborhood kids, the plush kids, the pigtails girl, Freddy bully, and the Chica girl and balloon guy. But I have actually a theory adjacent to this theory, and that is, so you know how there are 5 minigames we need to play for Happy's Day.
Yeah.
So what if these colorful math kids, so the neighborhood kids, possess the animatronics we play as in those minigames? So, yeah.
Wait, say that again?
So, what if the neighborhood kids, first of all, are the kids that wear colorful masks at Happy's Day, and they are the kids, and they are possessing the animatronics we play as in minigames for Happy's Day, so like the Stage 01, etc. And they are helping the MCI. They are helping Charlie put the MCI back together for Happy's Day, basically. And so
that makes sense, but
okay, and let me tell you how I would connect each animatronic. So so we have the Freddy bully, who wears a green shirt and blue pants. And he is the guy wearing the blue mask in Happy's Day, which has a green shirt and blue pants, and well, brown shoes. And he is possessing Mangle. I mean, whatever. Possessing Mangle because in that minigame, the Mangle minigame, we see a boy in green shirt and blue pants running around trying to dismantle Mangle.
Yeah,
and
there's lots of drawings, children's drawings of the green shirt, blue.
Yeah,
blue
and so
shorts
like,
guy.
and like
that's actually
and
actually Henry's grandfather.
and he
What?
So yeah, and he is possessing Mangle. Then we have the toy Chica toy girl, being the pink mask kid and possessing toy Chica, which makes sense. And then we have the balloon guy possessing Balloon Boy and being the purple mask kid. And then we have 2 interesting ones. So the plush trap kid, being the alligator mask kid and possessing Golden Freddy in Stage 1. So, again, this is theory, and it's most likely not right because it's most likely not the truth. But if you think about it, so we have an alligator mask who, out of the animatronics left, could possess Golden Freddy in Stage 1, and Golden Freddy is connected to Vengeful Spirit, and so you could argue
I disagree with that.
And so you could argue that Andrew exists, and Andrew is the plush trap kid, and Andrew is the alligator mask kid in Happy's Day, and he is possessing Golden Freddy in Stage 1. And he is helping Charlie put the Happy's Day. Yeah.
Oh my god, is that
I
Andrew?
wish I had my camera on right now because I had the biggest smirk on my face.
And the last kid on the list is Pigtail's girl, who is the orange mask kid, who also has green eyes just like Pigtail's girl. And
Green eyes, Elizabeth?
no, Shadow Bonnie.
She does have pigtails.
Okay, so in this theory, Pigtail's girl possesses Shadow Bonnie in the minigame. So she is possessing Shadow Bonnie because Toy Bonnie has green eyes like Pigtail's girl. So that
Hold on, speaking of eyes, I have a question. Was it ever established that Charlie's eyes are blue?
No,
I don't even think in the
Don't know.
Where did that blue? Everyone says like FNAF and game theory, they were connecting Charlie to blue. Where did that come from?
Can we not
Is it
see
from the
her
book?
eyes? Can we not see her eyes in Security Puppet? I'm pretty sure they're green.
No, it's because Elizabeth
oh, let's just put
has
that-
green eyes or something. So like, yeah, she's obviously represents the other
Oh.
color or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
They just made it up.
Anyways,
Yeah, I don't even know.
anyways,
I think she has brown eyes, to be honest.
Color?
as I was saying,
Yeah, wait, actually, that's a good point. Charlie has brown eyes. What?
yeah.
Okay, they just pulled
I
that out
think
of their
she
ass.
has-
Anyways, all right, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys
Okay, have a good
for
day.
letting me talk.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys later.
Anyways, as I was saying, the Pigtail's girl fits the most Shadow Bonnie because first of all, she has green eyes like Toy Bonnie, and Shadow Bonnie is a shadow of Toy Bonnie. And if you think about it, Pigtail's girl is the one talking about the animatronics coming to life at night, and Shadow Bonnie is the most mysterious character out of all of this. If we, well, along with Golden Freddy, I guess. And
One of them, yeah.
and also Pigtail's girl is the closest to the to the receiver's table. Well, if she is the orange mask kid, because in the happiest day we see there's so the closest table to the main table has only one kid, and that is the orange mask kid, and that would connect to the Pigtail's girl, who again, as I said, is the most interesting out of the neighborhood kids. And another interesting thing to attach to this is how she has the same font color as the character that says "I will put you back together" in FNAF 4. So again, that's quite a mysterious connection. And so, like Pigtail's girl, like if we connect all these things together, it is interesting how it's all fits because of how all fit into the mysterious vibe. Like with, well, do you all understand what I just said, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you all
even
think?
if you're not correct, I think there's something there. I think you might be right, but I said last time I don't think that the purple glitch Bonnie is RWQ, because Shadow Bonnie or RWQ shows up in the in-between night cutscenes as an all-black Bonnie.
But he has the same sprite, just black.
It's
I think he's just meant to represent the literal shadow from Fredbear's.
yeah. So there's
I
a
mean-
really good chance that the glitch Bonnie is Afton.
So yeah, like
I don't think it's Afton either.
I don't think it's Afton. Why would he even try? I don't think he would even help the kids at all. I
That's
mean,
what
he
I'm
literally
saying.
tries to take them apart in
That's why,
freaking.
yeah. That's why I think Happiest Day doesn't happen and the bad ending's canon. Because Afton wouldn't give cake to the stranded child.
Well, Scott said it was complex, so it would mean that would both be canon in a sense.
anyway, so
Yeah, that is a great interpretation. But
So-
yeah, sorry. That's all I have to say.
there's a theory that it is William that is the Shadow Bonnie in that minigame. There's a theory that Shadow Bonnie is just Agony. And well, in this theory, my theory is that Shadow Bonnie is Pigtail's girl. What do you all think of this specific theory?
That's what I meant to bring up. Even if that's not true, I think Pigtail's girl holds a lot more significance than we've ever given her credit for.
A quick question, does anyone think Dark Remnant is Agony, or is it just regular Dark Remnant?
I'm not sure. I give up on trying to understand.
I believe
modern
Dark
lore,
Remnant
really.
is formed from Agony.
So it's a piece of Agony, but it's not actual Agony.
I think emotions are more means of categorizing types of remnant.
So
The
that
Dark
would mean
Remnant
that,
is more like Dark Remnant is more just comprised of negative emotions, and regular Remnant is I don't know.
Positive
Do
emotions
you know
from
what I
death.
mean?
So the reason why I asked is because if Shadow Bonnie was created from Dark Remnant, then Remnant had to have existed by the time of I guess FNAF 2 or after the MCI.
I mean, in theory,
Because,
Remnant really just exists. Like, it's just like a natural part of the world. Like, everybody has like Remnant.
I mean,
when they die
William
or
would have
something.
known about Remnant from Charlie's death.
maybe because isn't
Remnant is just the
created
tangible
from-
with the intangible, so
Oh yeah, that line. I was gonna ask because isn't also Remnant created from molten metal or something? A liquid mercury.
Well,
yeah, melting down the endos.
Remnant, no, Remnant is just like, Remnant is just, so, like, Remnant can be liquid, basically just like, melted, like, basically, Remnant is like, it's, so, there are basically soul energy and metal. That's the soul that it attaches on, and together, or I mean, it could be something else, not just metal, but like the metal is the most strong conductor, basically. And Remnant is the concoction that they create, basically. I understand.
Remnant is basically just possessed object.
I'd originally theorized that it was a small piece of a soul because of, you know, like when Molten MCI was, I think it's still around, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think that was somewhat still correct because I think FNAF AR kind of supported that a little.
Yeah. With like the orbs that basically how
the whispers.
souls are also depicted as well. In like, you know,
There's
do you know
also-
you know those like paranormal activity videos where like orbs appear on the camera?
Oh, trust me, I know that feel. I think actually, let me tell you an experience. I thought I saw my cat underneath the table one today, and then I go to my dad's room and she's right there, and I asked him, did she just come in? No, she's been there their entire time.
You saw a ghost.
Yeah, I know.
It happens to me all the time.
I've had so many little things happen. It's a normal occurrence for me at this point.
Well, I need to go, so we'll need to finish the stream. So, is there
Alrighty.
anything that anybody wants to wrap up right now?
I like the theory that neighborhood kids come to haunt the toy animatronics.
Oh yeah, this
So GTI.
Interesting, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
What
just a theory
convinced
that-
me of that, like, or what leaned me more in that direction is the Instapit game, where, in what was it, Rescue the Children minigame?
something like that.
There's a small sprite of the Pigtail Girl.
Wait, what?
That would be
In the
pretty
Instapit
cool.
game, it's a small sprite of like the Pigtail Girl in like an arcade called like Rescue the Children, and
the one that you see dancing.
and the music you unlock after beating it is Save Them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I never. Hold on, I'm gonna have to look that up. Is it when you rescue her in the Is she the last child that you rescue into the pit?
In the
Or
maze.
In the
You
game.
know?
oh,
Yeah.
in the maze? Okay.
Yeah, there's like you rescue 4 kids and Balloon Boy is the sprite you play as.
Huh.
I think you made a whole short about it.
Yeah, I did. I like that theory, whether or not it's true or not.
I mean,
I like it.
I do see the connection between the neighborhood kids and the toy animatronics.
Because every one of them has a connection to one of the mascots, aside from the pigtail girl.
The pigtail girl has green eyes, so Toy Bonnie.
And thanks to the DCI, we have
Yeah.
a lot of
We've got like
victims.
that boy that could be the Freddy bully. He's, you know, obviously associated with Freddy. We have the Balloon Boy kid. We have the girl that has the tiny toy chica missing her beak. And then you got another kid that holds a rabbit, you know, the plush trap like character. And then there's just Pigtail Girl, which obviously, if the theory is true, she'd have to be Mangle.
Or she could be Toy Bonnie, while the kid with a plush trap toy could be Mangle, which has like a second head.
Oh no, it's like breaking up for me.
Yeah, same here.
I don't hear.
Yeah.
Oh, you are very lagging.
Flash.
I think somebody is trying to silence him.
Yeah, the glitch trap.
What's going on?
It's fixed now. Good. Oh. Never mind. Yeah, but I like what you're saying there, Spring. And like I was saying, there's a lot of victims thanks to the DCI. And not
Pretty
a whole
much,
lot
yeah.
of places they can go.
By the way, I got pickled flavored soda. It's not bad.
Sounds
I've
like...
got a
That
bag
sounds
of disappointment.
awful, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, Husband Entertainment
It
did
tastes
do a
decent.
pepperoni soda, so I'm not shocked.
I'm drinking pepperonery.
Yeah, so don't judge me. I got pickle flavored soda over here.
Soda-roni?
Well, let's
Soda-roni, that's what I was trying to say.
Pickle
Let's finish the
flavored
stream.
soda.
Or does anybody here have anything else?
Oh, I wasn't here most of the time, so sorry
No,
about that. I was napping.
That's it from me.
Yeah, okay, well then
Yeah.
I guess let's finish the stream.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yup.
Okay, so what do we say for the outro? For now, that's it. Subscribe to our channels to not miss any of our videos. Press those like buttons with those bells. And remember, I always come back.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Make sure you check out Cosmic Star.
Yeah, and everybody else who was.
Yes, them
Go
too,
check
sorry.
out my channel.
Yeah, check out channel Plesio. I'm trying to make FNAF